Welcome to the PP Show, where the D-Gens come to have discussions. Here at the PP Show, everyone has a voice, no matter how long you've traded in the markets. We love all opinions at the PP Show, and we hope you do too. Always remember this show is mainly comprised of opinion, speculation, and entertainment. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show, you dildo enthusiasts. God bless Teddy and G-Merica. One last thing, always remember, talk is cheap. It takes money to buy whiskey.
Welcome to the PP Show, everyone. Thanks for joining me tonight. PP on a well-deserved night off. I'm here to step in for him, do the best I can. Certainly don't have the same hype that gentleman's got. We've got Michael backstage. I'll be bringing him on shortly. And tonight we're simply going to get around the table and talk about the stock we love, whether it be GME, IEP, Bed Bath & Beyond. We sit around, share ideas, talk about due diligence, and have a lot of fun here on the PP Show. Before I get into it, I do want to provide the official disclaimer. Nothing here is financial advice. Please seek the resources necessary. Nobody that comes on as a guest, nor myself, is a financial advisor. Neither are we a lawyer. Again, please seek those avenues. We're merely getting together, talking about a stock we love, and having some fun. That's all there is to it. So in doing so, as you can tell, I'm fucking nervous as hell. So I'm going to bring on Michael so he can save my ass here. Everyone, give Michael a warm welcome. Michael.
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, good, man. I'm just going to turn up your volume a little bit. You're just a little bit low there.
Okay. It might be a little noisy in here. I'm at the gym, so.
Oh, are you again?
Yeah.
Attaboy. That's commitment, eh?
I think
Thanks
Mo has to soon.
man. Been a wild day today. We don't have PP with us, so I don't have too much planned. I know there's certainly a couple documents we could go over. I don't know, maybe even touch the Wu-Tang stuff. I don't know how much you've looked into that. I'm kind of a boomer, so I'm not too well aware of what. If I understand, I think that DD is almost like 3 years old or even longer. There's that we can talk about. We can talk about the newest ICANN drop. They dropped a file today. Has to do with his bonds and his indenture. You hear me well? Do I sound clear?
Yeah, no, you sound good. Wait, I actually didn't read it. Was the Icon one, was it bonds that they were selling, or where is it shares?
It was a 8K that he dropped today. And it was more about the date of the new bond offerings. So he's basically raised $750,000, and it can be used for any purpose, but he's also kind of paying off his old bond notes and reissuing new bonds, but for a much farther date and a much higher interest rate. I think he's jumping from like 6 to 9%. But he's extending the deadline for it. So it's kind of favorable because whatever he's doing, it almost gives you the insight that something big is coming for him, because he's promising kind of a nice reward for the bondholders if they jump in on it. So we could definitely pull that one up. I think we might have a special guest tonight. Bill did mention dropping by on his birthday, which would be pretty cool. No, I will not be singing happy birthday. But it'd be cool if Bill showed up. I know Edwin Burns talked about possibly swinging by tonight, so that would be pretty cool. And I know Rock Solid might jump in for a bit. And we can also make this about chat tonight. Maybe if there's a bunch of questions, you and I can kind of bounce back and forth and see if we can answer any questions that chat might have. And that's a fun way to do it tonight too, is kind of be a little bit more interactive with the chat. If you want to start with what you've got in backstream there, we can pull it up. What's this one? Is this the Wu-Tang?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me bring this up. This is pretty interesting, man. Again, I'll get you to take the lead on this because I have an idea about it. And if I understand, there might be an NFT dividend being offered for GME holders, or that's at least what we speculate. And in doing so, that kind of dividend, one, would also force shorts to close because institutions and so on would obviously request, a receipt of that dividend. And I find it really unique because you may actually end up having something called fractional ownership in a musical asset like this. So I'll bring it up and let you. We got Wu-Tang backstage. Let me bring on Wu-Tang quickly here. Let's give him a little introduction. Chat, please welcome. Pang, Wu-Tang, tinfoil brother, how are you?
Excellent. I'm just going to get my mic set up right. Just
Actually, you sound really good, brother.
Oh, thank you. It's my headphones. I didn't want any reverb.
Okay. You need to do that backstage, or you want to do it here? I'm going to put a link in the chat too, because I think there's somebody that wants to share some tinfoil in a bit. So there is a link. You're kind of either going to have to show your face, or I have to have an idea that it is you. PP knows this real well. I don't want to get his show banned off YouTube if somebody decides to try and porn him on something. So please bear with me as we kind of micromanage backstage here. It's PP show. It's his hard work, and I just don't want to take any responsibility for getting this thing yanked. So please bear with me. Mike, I'll bring that up. Oh, we got more people showing up. This is awesome. Why don't we bring everybody in here?
We can wait. Yeah, we can wait to pull it up. Yeah. We can pull them in.
We got Matterson and AA Jade. And I'm just going to swing you guys right back on. No need for the crowd applause. It'll be warranted in the chat. Hey, Matterson, how are you, brother?
Hey, what's up, man?
Nice. I can
Thanks
hear
for
you
having me on.
Jade, can I do a mic check?
Check.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for joining, guys. I'm just going to pull up some Wu-Tang stuff here on Michael's behalf. Jade, is there something that you wanted to share?
I have great tin for you out of the books, but it can wait for after Wu-Tang, but I do believe you guys will like it.
Okay, awesome. Sweet. I'll just bring this up here. So what is this, Michael?
So someone posted a video of the code, and you can see it says GameStop Corporation Ordinary Shares Class A, and this is the NFT. So I don't know. I mean, that's way exciting. I mean, they actually liked several of my tweets that were about this. I literally explained exactly what it was, and it was kind of tripping me out that they kept liking it, because I was like, they could get in a lot of trouble for liking this. But something that this might be a little out there, but they said that no one's found all the tinfoil from their posts. Well, here's one from their actual website, pleaser.mirror.xyz or whatever. Shoot, where'd it go? Path to Redemption. 13 years ago, I had an idea everyone said was crazy. I started producing this album on a moonshot, and after some hard early yards, it took on a life of its own. The Clan made it real. Martin made it notorious. The Feds made it legendary. And the Pleaser DAO brought it full circle. So, Martin Shkreli apparently, what was it? He bought it or stole it or whatever. I don't know. Anyway, he got in trouble, or I think he bought it for $2 million, and then he got in trouble for doing stuff on Wall Street. And so, but the Feds, I find it kind of interesting, just because right now the whole idea of agencies and these, because a government agency is supposed to be controlled by the Senate, because the Senate has to approve any sort of bill or any funding. So all these agencies found ways to kind of get funding without having to go to the Senate for money, and have it in different accounts, different places. And even there's a possibility that they took over Tether. I don't know, but it's just kind of interesting if short selling is a way to get around paying taxes, and all the agencies are kind of taken over by Wall Street money. It'd be kind of interesting that the good people inside of these agencies, like maybe the DOJ, maybe they were part of the architects in this whole idea to make it an NFT dividend and use it to liquidate the naked shorts. Wow. And Roaring Kitty probably, the other thing was it was pretty bold for Roaring Kitty to be able to tweet all those things and not even be worried that he's gonna get thrown in jail, right? That's kind of weird. I mean, it's not illegal what he's doing, but you would have thought they'd want to try to make an example out of him or something, at least, I don't know, but they didn't. And so it might be that he was also part of that, and it was a way to like get them to do a bunch of naked shorts by like, if there was a run out of nowhere, the algos and everything would just automatically naked short it. I think that they have like basically a band where they're like aiming the price at a certain evaluation that they give it. Like they'll have a total market cap, and then they say what percentage of that market cap would this company be able to take likely, and then they just aim it there. And so it has like a plus or minus like in that channel going towards that price, whether it's up or down. And if it goes above that band, I think that they just naked short it. And so this was like the perfect way to literally get everyone and their dog to naked short it. Anyone that has any sort of algos that want to do this, probably naked shorted it. And we'll get to see that on Friday. And so I think that will be cool. Is the chart is actually suggesting that something on GameStop and on AMC is going to happen on Friday. And so it makes sense that that's what it was like aiming at, is like this potentially getting announced. That's my guess, is that it's going to be announced on Friday or over the weekend.
Before the weekend. And so that video or that screenshot you were showing, that was kind of like the JavaScript underneath the website.
Yeah.
Wow. And so what's the deal? The album is Wu-Tang. I listened to their first song ever today, believe it or not. I'm such a boomer. And so the album is unique. Apparently there's a date like 83 years away where it won't be made available for that 83 years to the public. Is that what it is?
They made it to where basically it's just a way to say, one, to promote people actually playing it in public, like as like a free concert or something, like just like sharing it as like an experience. Like they're going to be playing it from like a PlayStation 1. And so if you have the NFT or whatever, anyway, I don't know exactly how that works, but basically, one, they wanted to promote the idea of like actually creating an experience around music instead of just having it just be a digital download or whatever. And then the other one is it was a way to make it illegal to sell, but also kind of change the whole like dynamics around like intellectual property. Like when I was trying to follow the White Rabbit, the GameStop White Rabbit was Buck the Bunny. He was actually like there was like this whole movement in like 2008 or something, or somewhere, maybe even before that, where they wanted to create all this like free to use, animation stuff so that people could like just share, so that it wasn't just one, like just like some rich people being able to make movies, like, normal people could just like make cool art. And I don't know, it kind of petered out. But I think that it went into other things, into like they realized like, oh, we have to take down the whole corrupt part of the financial system to just be able to actually do it the right way. So the Buck the Bunny, it's just kind of, in my mind, the Buck the Bunny and how that was supposed to be something that was like open source. And then this, where they wanted to be like an open source kind of like experience where the community shares in the music and shares in the experience. I kind of see those two going together.
Yeah. So in a sense, they're not going to monetize it. They're putting the ideology on, experiential, sharing it, making it known through kind of, that aspect, but they're not looking to monetize it. So in a sense, they've totally taken out the middleman or the publishing unit, so to speak, that would receive royalties for every time it's listened to on radio or broadcast. And so in a sense, what it could mean is that every share or if you own shares in GameStop, they would attach this NFT to it. And do I understand correct that you can't separate the two, apparently, that it's contingent on you owning the share as well? So if you were to end up selling the shares, you're also going to release your right to the NFT of that album or something?
I think so. And that's where I'm kind of confused, because regular shares aren't like tokenized. They're not just, also I think we have some in the back lobby. The regular shares aren't in the stock market aren't tokenized, so I don't know how they'd be able to match one share to one NFT. Like that doesn't really compute.
Also,
yeah.
I had a quick question too related to that, and I know Pang has his hand up, but you know, how, because I understand that there are some commercial licensing limitations to this, right? So how does that apply to like a stock, which isn't it commercially related, and you know, you need to purchase a stock to get this? So I don't exactly understand the relationship of how that works out. So I was wondering if you guys had a better idea on that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I just know that they're going to be tied together. Just to interrupt the conversation, I think we should definitely get back to it. But we have a birthday guy backstage, and I don't want to keep him back there too long because it is his birthday. So, chat, crowd, if everybody could give a nice warm welcome to Bill Pulte, and let's wish this guy. Bill,
Hey guys,
happy birthday.
Oh, hello.
how are you?
Happy birthday.
Good, man. I'd sing
Happy
for you,
birthday.
but you would hit the backstage so fast, man.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
I think we should. I think we should.
How are you
Go
guys?
ahead. You lead it, Wu-Tang.
Doing
I ain't
great.
going there. But how are you? Are you
I'm
not out for
wonderful.
supper for your birthday, bro?
You said supper?
Yeah. What time
Yes,
is
I
it?
had a New York strip steak, which was great.
Nice.
Cooked medium, and I had a baked potato, and then I had a chocolate cake, which was great.
Nice. And to drink with it?
No drink, just water. Just water.
wow.
Yeah, just
Nice.
water. No drink
Nice.
this time, but yeah. So thanks for everybody for their outpouring. It's kind of weird. You know, growing up, you have a lot of people say happy birthday and stuff like that, but then on Twitter now, you know, it's like it's crazy. You know, social
when you
media
got
is just
3.3
crazy.
million followers, brother, I'm sure it just must swarm you.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it means a lot coming from people, especially that I know. So I know so many of you guys, and I appreciate everybody. So the whole community this was the best community to get happy birthday from. So thank you for
Didn't
that.
you get a nice happy birthday like from Ryan Cohen tonight?
How about that?
Isn't that fucking wild?
That's
Just a
crazy.
coincidence.
Is that not the 69th like? Is it back to 69 now?
I don't know, but is that not crazy? You know,
Yeah.
and all this hate that I get and that we all get, right? And people saying, "Oh, well, you know, he'll never like a tweet of yours again." I mean, this is what they say after every time, and then he comes through, and it's just crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's very exciting. It's very encouraging, and as I said, this guy's the real deal. You know, I mean, I spent 3 hours with him, and he didn't need to like that tweet. You know what I mean? But that's just the kind of guy he is. You know, and I know he needs to keep a low profile, but to say basically happy birthday to somebody who's a member of the community, which is me, is pretty cool.
Well, Michael, you did the math, right? And I think you checked out all of Ryan's likes, and Bill by far is the number one. I think it's like 34.
It's not even close. It's not even close.
not
Like it's
even
like
close.
a third of his likes. So
So was that also his 69th third like, third 69th like? There you go.
Yeah. Not bad for a birthday, eh? Not bad.
No, it was
Did you,
really cool. I was surprised to see
Balti,
it.
I was wondering if you celebrated National Hamburger Day today. I don't know if you knew that.
No, I didn't know about that. I was trying to
Okay.
think of what I had for lunch, but yeah, what the hell did I have for lunch? I think I had something good, but I can't remember what the hell I had. So how's everybody else doing? How are you guys?
We're good.
Really-
We're good. We're probably going to touch on the HBC stuff tonight, maybe some ICANN, and this Wu-Tang thing. I'm really curious about that. There's a lot of hype about this Wu-Tang thing. I don't know too much about it, but trying
How
to.
about the icons though? It looks like they're fixing their shit.
Yeah, new bond offerings. He's extending the
Buying some more,
timeline.
actually.
What's that?
I was thinking of buying some more. It just seems like they're getting their hands around things at IEP.
Yeah, and he's paying a pretty penny too, 9%. Like
Mhm.
that's not chump change, man. That's and he's always led with his dividends. So imagine owning stock and bonds in IEP. You got your dividends, and then with the bonds, you get the nice interest.
Although if you think about it, if he that 9%, right? If the feds keep printing, right, like, and he can use that money right now to buy some hard assets, it actually is like basically free money.
You know, it's interesting you say that because we haven't talked since the whole GME finalized their capital raise, their capital proceeds, and you know, without going into too much of what I talked about with Ryan, I think that this extra $1 billion could potentially transform the company. And a lot of haters of Ryan were saying, well, he already has $1 billion. What does an extra $1 billion matter? Well, it matters a lot. I mean, when you go on an order of magnitude, say your $5 billion market cap, and you have $1 billion worth of cash, to increase your cash by 100% and have 2 billion out of the 5 billion market cap be in the form of cash. I mean, you know, Pulte Homes did almost, you know, I don't want to say exactly, but did shy of 3 billion of EBITDA, 3 billion of earnings. And the company had, you know, $1.8 billion worth of cash at the end of a prior quarter. That's a lot of cash to have, but that company's generating $3 billion worth of EBITDA in order to have that type of cash balance. In the case of GameStop, it's really a turnaround, so it's an entirely different animal. But what's fascinating about it is that with these capital raises that Ryan Cohen has so brilliantly been able to execute, is you essentially have a company that's not making that money, that's in a turnaround stage, that has $2 billion worth of cash. And so it's like, on one hand, you've got a business that's making $3 billion of earnings. And then on the other end, you've got that has $1.8 billion worth of cash. And then you have GameStop that has $2 billion. There are so many other companies, forget the Fortune 500, so many other smaller market cap companies in the IWM and in the Russell, the Russell index that don't have anywhere near. I mean, some of them probably don't even have $200 million worth of cash. So I just think that this completely, at the risk of stating the obvious, right? But that's the way that I look at it is, you got my family's legacy business that is a real business, and GameStop's a real business, right? But it just helps put things in perspective. And I just think that these guys who have bet against Cohen are going to be very disappointed. And I think that it's really it's just my opinion, not financial advice, all that bullshit. But I just think it has put a floor on the bottom of the risk of the stock. And I would not want to be short this stock. I would not want to be short this stock.
Yeah, I agree. 1 billion is phenomenal, but to increase that double, that means, because my worry was that $1 billion cash, let's say he went and invested into a small cap company of 500 million. I almost feel that some of the naysayers would criticize him going, oh, you only have 500 million cash now. And there's that kind of, what's that fine line? But to have 2 billion, to be able to go out and spend 500 million or possibly $1 billion and still have $1 billion cash, there can't be any controversy to that. It's a healthy environment. And if you can pick the right company that's going to add incremental value, and add revenue to your stream every 3 months, where can you go wrong? And even if you just invested that money, Bill, whether it be bonds or whatever the case may be, it's going to provide, 5, 10, 15% return above and beyond what he's doing already. And he's
exactly. And he's basically head of the ABC. Great point. And he's basically head of the investment committee based on, and he has full investment authority. So I really do think it's a mini Berkshire Hathaway. I'm not saying that it will have the same type of returns. I hope it will, but I really think he's creating something that's going to be spectacular. Now, let me throw one more thing at you, ABC. So what did the stock finish at today? $24 a share or something? $25 a share?
24 and change, I think. Yeah.
Okay. There was once a knucklehead, meaning me, who was saying, oh, I'd buy the stock if it got down to 13 or whatever, right? So I'm still a buyer of it, okay, at 13. Okay, let's say. People are still a buyer of it at $24 a share. Let me throw this at you, ABC. What's preventing him from doing another $1 billion issuance? Why not another $1.5 billion?
Yeah. And a lot of people would the people that are riding the coattails would complain dilution, and that's not right. But from a business point of view, and especially the short positions that are on this, if he makes the right acquisition and merges or acquires something, that short interest is going to be paid back. And I give you an example, Bill. Yesterday there was 7 million self-reported shares shorted against it. The day last week was 7 million, 6 million. Today was 25 million shares reported that they shorted against his company today. It's a gamble, because if this guy makes the right acquisition, the right investment, this thing will take off. And there are a lot of companies that offer incredible value right now and are at a cheap price. It's the economy we're in.
I agree. And then what was I going to say? You made a great point. You got me thinking about something else.
Dilution?
I don't know, but I forget what I was going to say. But is that, you mentioned about dilution. Exactly. Great point. It's important to know Ryan is also getting diluted, and his ownership shares are going down. This is not a dumb guy. This is a smart guy. So if you think, and this is just one man's opinion, but if you think that this guy is just going to dilute himself and not figure out how to make it up, you're underestimating Cohen. He's going to figure it out. So I think he's fine with the dilution. I don't know that, but I would imagine he's fine with the dilution. And I don't know that he would be fine with it again, but I would bet that he would be fine with it again. I mean, you take down another billion. I mean, if this thing gets raises another billion, let me just tell you, I will be buying the stock at this level like nobody's business.
Well, the thing is, Bill, over the past 2.5, 3 years, he's literally cleaned up the financials where he was losing hundreds of million. He's closed enough stores. He's fine-tuned the machine. And now, for the first time in his last report, he literally showed profit. And now he's got $2 billion in cash. If he added, say, another billion and a half, can you imagine a profitable company with $3 or $4 billion sitting in cash, ready to pounce on any acquisition he needs? I mean, to me, that's not really dilution. And yeah, you make a point that he's going to dilute himself. The guy doesn't take a salary. And I'm not to knock, the AMC crowd, I feel for them, but they have diluted 30 times, but they've never cleaned up the business. They've got $7-8 billion in debt, whereas Ryan has taken the opposite approach. He's cleaned up the affairs, put the business on a straight line up, and then takes action to increase the value and get that cash flow going. Whereas most businesses, they take that, let's just dilute the shareholders. But you got to fix the problem first, and that's where I'm really excited, because Ryan's fixed the problem and now has the ability to raise the cash.
Yes.
And part of actually the cash that is really good is, I think we all know that retail doesn't really move the price of the stock, and that there's these evaluations that each company gets, and the market makers are kind of aiming it. I mean, that's actually what Ken Griffin said, right? And so I think that you can see there's like basic math as far as like their operating expenses, how many quarters they could go, right? So GameStop has like $300 million operating expenses per quarter. And that's actually down 40% from last year. And I think with his plans, he plans on, reducing his footprint a little bit more to only the best locations. So that means that it's going to be less, but still that gives it a certain amount of runway. And so that $1 billion now kind of takes it off the list as far as like any possible future, I guess I won't say dilution risk, but like the companies that are desperate for money. Like it's a difference. It's different if Ryan Cohen has something and he's like, look, if I take this $1 billion now and the price dips for a little bit, I can then make really good return on investment and then give that back, right? If it's in operating expenses that money gets burned into, like most companies that are doing dilutions, then it's just wasted. And so I don't know. I don't think it would be a bad idea. I mean, I think that the higher price he raises it at, the better. Like if it had a bounce from here. That was kind of my guess the first time around, is that he would have like issued the shares like more towards the top than towards the bottom. But yeah, if he's got plans, stuff. I mean, yeah, he can.
It's exciting. It's exciting stuff. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And I think I'll leave you guys with this thought. I think that I'm not saying that it will be worth what Tesla is worth one day, although I hope it would be. But I think that people will look back at it and say, wow, you remember how they used to make fun of Tesla and they used to make fun of Elon and everything, and everybody used to make fun of it all the time. I think that you're looking at another Tesla type situation in terms of how they make fun of it and the fact that it's not legit and the fact that they say that Ryan Cohen's not legit. And I think they're going to be eating their words. And I'll tell you this, they may eat their words, but it's going to be like a lot of the Elon situation where even once he proves everybody wrong, and I think he's on his way to proving him wrong still, they're still going to find a way to hate him. They're still going to find a way to hate him. But that's why he's got great loyal fans like all of us.
And Bill, I had a quick question if I could.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I don't know if you're able to answer this at all, but if you were in Ryan's shoes, based on things that we've seen, like on the 17th, GameStop released early financials, which is something that, we've never seen happen. And now with them gearing up from what it basically seems like to be an acquisition of some sorts, when do you think would be the most optimal time if this was you to basically announce whatever he's got to announce? I don't know if you have any insight into that based on, your experience, but we'll love to hear
right
that.
away. I could see him doing something right away. I could also see him buying another public security. So I have no idea what that would be, but I think it's been disclosed out there that he has a big position in Apple. I'm not saying that he would buy Apple, but I wouldn't be surprised to see him buy another public security. Now, I think there's some kind of rule, and somebody can fact check me on this, but I think there's some kind of rule where you have to have 40% of your investable assets have to be in something other than public securities. So I don't know technically. I mean, I know the market cap is higher than, like, let's say if you use 40 billion of 5 billion, right, then you'd be looking at 2 billion, but I don't know if the market cap counts as assets. So somebody would need to look at the threshold for how much public securities you could buy. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him buy a public security. I actually think that'd be a pretty smart move on an interim basis before he finds an acquisition, to just go out there and buy a stock. And to your point, ABC, yeah, he could get a coupon by buying the 10-year treasury or the 30-year treasury or whatever. But, you're in a situation right now where I think a lot of these big public companies are taking market share and they're seeing accretion in their stock price. I mean, look at NVIDIA, look at all these guys, even look at like Pulte Homes. I mean, all-time highs, the builders, right? The builders are just, these big companies are just, it sucks for the little guy. It really does suck. They're taking market share from people. So I'm just saying that even if he bought something that was kind of benign and blasé, mark my words, you may wake up one morning and he bought, a position in another public security, and it might not even be a majority public security. It may just be a minority passive position. So, I mean, I'll tell you this. Okay, I'll throw something crazy at you. And again, this is all speculation. Okay, I just want to be clear. And I don't know anything, and this is just coming out of my head as I'm talking. What if he bought another public security and then did his whole RC Ventures type strategy and went activist on the public security that he bought on behalf of GameStop?
I can see that happening.
Proxy.
What's that?
Almost like a proxy where he invests into it and then makes changes on the board and restructures it.
But let me say this to you, ABC. There's a few big activist firms, right? Elliott Management, which is who my family was successful in raising money from to take on the bad guys in 2016, and we kicked out the CEO of that company. Elliott Management is highly regarded in activism, but they're not publicly traded. Then on the other hand, you have Carl Icahn, okay, and he is publicly traded, but he's got all these other holding type companies. So I guess what I'm saying to you, and then you've got on the other hand, you got Berkshire, which is kind of more of a passive entity. What if you fused all three of those together? Elliott, Icahn, Berkshire Hathaway, RC Ventures, GameStop. I mean, that could be a new age, that could be a next generation type of company. And
that would be actually a really cool business model where you literally have these activists with a bunch of money behind them and the savvy in terms of how to create value for shareholders, going in, investing, making the changes. Because I know Carl himself, he's provided shareholder value over $1 trillion in his career. Imagine having a bunch of these guys putting their minds together.
and we can invest in that track record. We can invest in the potential track record of Cohen. So again, this is highly speculative. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, but I just think that people need to be, when we read these legal filings and when we read these things, I mean, and this is why I like Larry Chang. I was so happy that he came to the conference and stuff, and he looks to be, a VC type of guy, right? You don't really get VC type of guys like Larry Chang on the board of these public companies. I mean, I was on the board of this public company. I mean, these guys, it's, they show up to the meetings 4 times a year and they clip 250 grand. Larry Chang does not strike me as that. He seems an entrepreneurial guy, and you're seeing it reflected in the legal filings where they're giving this broad-based authority to Ryan Cohen.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't mean to keep talking. I know this might be boring as shit, but these are thoughts.
There's over 5,000. I'm sure they're all keen to hear, Bill. I absolutely agree. I think, Larry himself, he made a post the other day where I think he put down 15 to 20 small micro cap companies that have value that he thinks, are possibly a play in something. I don't think he was specifying about Ryan or anything like that, but there are a lot of them out there.
But who knows? He's in those board meetings, ABC, to your point, I would imagine, and saying, hey, we got to look at this. We got to look at that. I agree with you. By the way, the last 5 to 10 minutes of the show, 5, 10, 15 minutes, this is what they should be talking about on CNBC with regard to GameStop. That was a very meaningful conversation the last 15 minutes about GameStop.
Well, you're doing something right when there's controversy.
Mm-hmm.
That's the compliment itself. If you've got haters, it's because you're doing something right. And so, I'm sure Ryan will just keep his head down, keep silent, and just keep trucking away. And eventually, hopefully he'll swing some of the haters. But if not, it's their loss, because I do believe this guy is probably one of the most customer-centric guys out there. He knows how to build businesses, and he puts the right people around him too. So when you got that combination, you got the cash on hand, you can do some stuff.
Yeah, and hopefully he can be one day the real owner, not a fake owner, not a minority owner of the Florida Panthers. Hopefully he can buy the Florida Panthers. So, and unlike Saifu, he could afford to buy him, not this fake ownership that Saifu says he is. So
yeah.
Anyway, can't help myself, because these guys, and now you see Saifu's going after, or is trying to be buddy with Ryan these days. He's not. But my point being is, these guys, they bash us and everything. And you're going to see this, by the way, just so everybody's aware. The more success Ryan has, the more people are going to try to say, oh, we weren't against him. We weren't against him. It's the same thing you saw with Elon. You know what I mean? And it's just going to be really fascinating. But I don't trust those guys. Once somebody shows me their colors and they stab my boy in the back, my boy being Ryan Cohen, I'm not going to trust them. So I don't think we can trust anyone right now.
Yeah, and I think, with Ryan's silence, to me, it's kind of the art of war. Don't say anything, don't do anything, just save it for when you believe is the right timing. And I think that's the beauty of this Ryan guy. He's stealth mode, man. He's stealth mode.
Yeah, the only thing he does is like my tweet. That's crazy.
Yeah. Happy birthday, brother.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me. Sorry we digressed into a bunch of different things. But
no, it's good.
No, it's
Anybody
great.
have any last questions before Bill?
It was a chill conversation, if nothing else.
No, I actually did have a quick last thing for Bill while he's still here. With, again, trust, and also some of the things that we've been recently seeing. I know in the community we have been going over the fact whether Hudson Bay Capital is a good actor or a bad actor. And based on, some of the things that have come out recently where community members have found it, looks pretty suspicious of them with some of the things that have gone on. But for me, looking at that, it just seems unlikely someone with their reputation, their brand, and the type of clients that they have with, I think something recently I read was like 20 billion in their portfolio. It just seems unlikely that they would go out on a limb like that to have such a paper trail of, all these things that were going on that were nefarious,
I hear you, and I don't mean to sound like this, but I'm a little jaded right now. I just don't trust a lot of people right now. I trust Ryan Cohen. I trust Larry Chang. That's kind of about it right now. And I think everybody has to prove themselves, myself included. And I think that, this whole thing with Ryan Cohen being sued with this bullshit 16B thing, I mean, who knows who's behind this? I mean, that's the other thing is who's funding this guy. I mean, I've seen this guy's bio. I don't know. Have you guys seen this guy's bio who's suing Cohen?
Yeah, it's super random. They've done other lawsuits too, and
It doesn't make any sense, this guy's bio. Did you see his bio? It just doesn't add up. So again, I don't mean to sound jaded or paranoid or whatever, but you know, maybe a little bit of paranoia right now is good because it seems Ryan's being a little bit paranoid by just being silent. And like you said, the art of war, I think it's very smart.
Yeah. You know, I think it was the CEO of Intel once said, only the paranoid survive. You know, you got to be aware at all times. And I think that's the brilliance of Ryan and others. They don't play checkers, they play chess. So,
yeah.
But yeah,
something's going on too with these guys popping up out of nowhere. I mean, there's all kinds of people popping up out of nowhere. I've never even seen some of these people. I don't know if somebody popped up the other day. I forget who it was. If I think about it, I'll tell you. But, and I'm just like, where the hell did this guy pop up from? I've never even heard of this guy before. And they're popping up all over Twitter and stuff. It's weird.
Yeah. It's going to get messier, Bill.
Oh, it will.
Yeah.
I will.
But
all right, boys.
Okay, man. Well, happy birthday. Thanks for joining us tonight. And yeah, I hope you have a friggin' amazing rest of the evening, brother.
You too, guys. Thanks again. Appreciate each and every one of you guys.
Likewise.
See ya. Bye.
Wow.
I just took a ton of notes, man. This guy's dropping information like no tomorrow.
I know. That's at least
that's like
what I got to. Yeah.
That's
I'm
probably like
bring in RS Kagi because he just wants to join the conversation here. What happened to Jade? Yeah, no, Jade disappeared backstage. I think she doesn't have a good connection right now. What do you guys want to get into? I don't have too much planned here. I mean, there's icon documents. Do you guys want to? I know Bed Bath dropped the document at 2:30 today.
Real quick to finish, kind of like one of the thoughts about whether what could happen with the dilution. For example, like, not saying Ryan Cohen's going to buy AMC, but I mean, he could buy 20% stake pretty easily in AMC. And if you think like how much, if he came in and like just getting the board members out and getting people that are more competent and actually just paying them like a regular amount of money instead of some crazy like tens of millions of dollars, it would actually almost like immediately like bring it right into being profitable. And if you think about, say he bought that in, he could at least double the market cap. So say it was another $1 billion dilution, well, that'd be $2 billion on the balance sheet, like pretty quickly, probably a lot more, who knows?
Well, I'm wondering, because kind of Bill highlighted or mentioned that, imagine Carl Icahn, RC Ventures, and all these guys playing an activist role in companies out there. Like, my heart bleeds for AMC holders. And the reason being is I look at who's backing them, whether it be Apollo Management. I look at the 30 times that they've diluted their shareholders, the chaos of seeing the debt rise versus the dilution, the reverse splits. I just think it's literally a tidal wave of continuous milking shareholders, and they haven't increased the balance sheet. They haven't made things more favorable. And I get upset because, here's a guy taking a salary of $27 million a year, including perks. That's just not even reasonable. I think all compensation should be based on your balance sheet. If you are making money hand over fist for a company, you should be given a percentage of that as the reward. If you don't make the company money as a CEO, you shouldn't get a fucking paycheck, man. Like, let's think about it.
Yeah, and I mean, Ryan Cohen, he hasn't been taking a paycheck, and he's actually been tightening the belt as far as like getting GameStop, trimming the fat, right? And it's like, I don't know. I think the fact that he offered shares now after he's already proven that he's put in all the work, right? It's not just going to be burned and gone into the ether. Like, it's like, no, that money can now be invested in the company. Whereas like AMC, like there's so much just, it's just their operating expenses. Like, what is it actually going towards, right? I mean, it was great to do the whole, Taylor Swift and Beyonce thing or whatever. but like that's like a cost that like you pay that, and now it's like gone. It's not like something you invested in. It's permanently there, and so I don't know. Yeah.
My worry is the 7, 8, or $9 billion of debt. When you're carrying that type of debt with you, no matter what kind of business strategy you make, you still are tagging along this debt with you. Clean up the debt, clean it up, get your cash flow positive. Cash flow is king in business. And with Ryan now having $2 billion, like Bill just said it, put it in perspective. Here's the third biggest house builder in North America with about $1.5 billion in cash. And here's GameStop with $2 billion in cash. And they're certainly not the largest retailer out there. And so they're in a very, very healthy predicament. I think he's going to make an acquisition or an investment. And because of the unit concept that they've gone to, he can invest into a private company. He can invest into a public company. He can invest in treasuries, bonds, anything that'll provide a return. And that is free gravy, because if he invests that money into it, it's tied up for sure, but it's still part of his books. And then if he's getting 5, 10, 15% return every 3 months on his money, that just adds to the bottom line. So, I think RC's in a great position. I think he's done the work first and then has the right or the ability to say to shareholders, hey guys, I cleaned up this company. It was $350 million in debt a year. I've now made it profitable. I've got it back into a place where, we're on the right path. I need a little bit more spending money. Whereas AMC, they haven't taken that approach at all. They haven't been transparent at all.
You can even see it, right? I just looked it up. AMC is actually up 2% on their operating costs over the year, whereas GameStop is down. So that's like a stark difference in how they're approaching it. Like, let's say that instead of that money just going and just being burnt in operating costs, let's say that he buys a bunch of IEP. What if he used $1 billion and bought IEP, right? Well, one, the dividends would be paying out really nicely, and two, all of a sudden those assets, if they buy at $17, likely it's going to go back up to 50 pretty soon. And so then all of a sudden now he almost tripled the money, right? So then he has $3 billion on the balance sheet and all these dividends coming in. Like, that'd be genius.
Yeah. Yeah, I find that interesting what Bill mentioned. I mean, obviously he says it's not financial advice, but it is kind of a neat business model, because if you can put collective minds together with collective bank accounts and make the right investments, especially in a market like this, because to me, there's no more middle companies. You're either shit performing or you're performing very well, or you're like NVIDIA and you're just inflated to hell. But anyways, that's another story, another topic. Jade, I want to do a mic check for you. Oh, she's gone again. Let me bring her back.
Yeah. Also, hey Ryan, what's up, man?
What's that? I thought you were saying Ryan Cohen. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe he's on the cake.
How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you, brother?
Pretty good. Just kind of here to hang out, and I heard that there's some Wu-Tang DD being discussed tonight.
Do you want to get into it? I'm curious. I don't know too much about it. Do you have a good grasp on it?
Maybe too good of a grasp. I'm not really sure if I'll be allowed to talk about some of the stuff I know about, actually.
I like that.
Now you have
That's the best info right there.
I mean, like, literally, like, I won't be able to talk about some stuff I know about, but like, what do you guys know?
Well, unrelated to that, I wanted to buy some more call options tomorrow for GameStop. Will I have time?
Nice. Hell
yeah.
You might call warrior over here.
Hard.
Okay, with the lead in like that, Ryan, you got to share more now, brother. You can't just stop talking, bro.
Well, I mean, to the degree that I'm allowed to say things, there's something happening with the album finally being released. The Shaolin album. If folks are aware that there's a mint that has happened on Zora.co, which is a NFT minting art distribution site. There's about 30,000 copies of this album 001 NFT. that have been distributed out or people have minted or collected. It's still available right now. I'm actually going to go ahead and link it. Where would be the best place to put that for you guys? Should I put it
right in chat? Right in chat. I can pull it up.
Okay, I put it in the private chat here. But yeah, I know the folks behind this, like in terms of like Pleaser DAO, and that's where I'm gonna have to like say that I can't say any more beyond that.
ABC, I don't know if you want to approve my screen there for a sec.
Yeah, let me. I don't see it. Throw it back up, Wu-Tang, because it's not showing. Oh, there it is. There you are.
So wait, what can you tell us about this again? Something about 30,000.
So yeah, there's as you can see here under the collect button, there's 30,794 items. That's just how many of them were minted in the 7 days that it was available for open minting. So open minting means that like however many people come and buy it during that period, that's however many get created. So it's essentially like the first edition of the album, and it may be the only edition. I'm not sure, but there's only ever going to be 30,794 of these exact pieces here. It's currently going for about $10 in ETH. So you can use like I would usually recommend like Coinbase as a easy entry point if you've ever used Coinbase before. But yeah, so I would definitely recommend looking into this for anybody who wants to be on the ground level of whatever the fuck is happening here. I don't have a full picture of what's happening. I just know that it's been in the work for years. So, and it's something that I'm really happy to finally see happen because I know we were pushing for it like a year and a half ago, and it just got delayed over some bullshit. So, but yeah.
I had a question, Ryan. If you could go at all into like the mechanics of how this works, like because I'm just trying to understand how, something that isn't supposed to be commercially distributed or whatever is then being used to be an NFT. So I'm just a little ignorant on that. And I was wondering if you could, clarify that at all or whatever.
Yeah. So from what I understand, there was a contract. There was some kind of stipulations and requirements on that contract. There was a producer who was involved who has now been bought out of his share of things, which I know had eased things to be able to finally move forward. So that's about how much I know. There was previously just like roadblocks that were preventing it from moving forward, and now those have been removed, and it's able to move forward now with the blessings of Riza. So he's involved.
So this one here, Ryan, where you spend 0027 Ethereum, that's for an NFT. And there's 30,794 of them.
That's correct.
And there's 18,955 that have been kind of minted or unique mints of it, but to a maximum of 30,000, right?
So there are 30,794 items out there. There's 18,955 unique minters. So some people are holding more than one of those.
Okay.
As you can see, the very top holder is actually one of my close friends, Raz. He has 777 of them. He's a good guy.
Wow.
Nice.
Sorry, what does minting mean exactly?
Minting means that you are spending you're creating a blockchain transaction that essentially mints a token, an NFT, just like a coin would be minted at like the US Mint. Like it strikes the transaction and creates the token as an item on the blockchain that is then kind of forever tracked in the ledger from then on. So it kind of creates a tokenized something from nothing. And in this case, it creates the album 001.
And that's kind of something cool. If people don't know much about blockchain, I don't actually know a ton, but there's two types of accounting, right? You can have like a neutral third party, right? Like PricewaterhouseCoopers that comes in and they do the accounting, and then we just trust them that they're not just totally making shiz up, right? Or you have a distributed ledger that's public, right? And so other people, like we can all just see the accounting and any transaction that happens. So each block is like its own accounting ledger that you can just watch all the transactions happen, which I think is going to be a complete game changer, because there's a lot of transactions. Maybe not every transaction in the world needs to be public, but there's some that definitely should, and it would make it to where there's a lot less corruption.
Yeah, and I mean, to directly apply this to Wu-Tang themselves, like they've always been, as a record label group, like they've always had tight control over their records being republished. So I don't think there's been an instance of them doing a second edition of any of their albums. So if you go out and like want to buy, an official discography of Wu-Tang, you're probably going to end up paying like, $200, $300 for certain records that are just no longer available in stores, that you'll have to get secondhand. It's kind of like an extension of that, where you actually see now some counterfeiters out there publishing brand new Wu-Tang vinyls, and you'll get them and they're just like trash, like they're not pressed right, or they're they've been created by some Chinese company that's like looking to make some money off of whatever names they can find. And so this is kind of, in my opinion, one of the ways that they like it vibes with their ethos of Wu-Tang, of being able to prove however many owners there were of this item, and it's still on secondary market, and like you can make sure it's the authentic item. I think that's a step forward in the right direction for artists and creators to be able to have more creative control over the works that they're publishing.
On that note, Ryan, and you may not be able to talk about this or not know any, but just based on that inability to counterfeit, because the NFT in this case would be one of a kind, it would be duplicated or minted for how many holders there are, but they couldn't go out and recreate because of the tag and identification of this minted thing. In correlation to the GME stock, there is kind of a speculation out there that one way to kind of make sure that the shorts are trapped and have to cover and pay would be to attach a dividend of something like Wu-Tang. And what'll happen is when you attach that, it's literally entwined with the share, and you can't sell the share without selling the NFT or the blockchain aspect to it. And it creates that identifier. In a sense, you're establishing, let's say Ryan has, 349 million shares outstanding now, and he decides to, do an acquisition or a merger or give out GME shares. He could attach a dividend like this. And in a sense, that would create a locate for the real shares that exist out there. And then anybody that has any currently could kind of go through a process to identify that they have a real share. In a sense, it would expose all the nakeds out there because of this NFT blockchain dividend that's being attached to it. Do you have any thoughts on that, or did you hear the speculation?
No, I remember that speculation from about a year and a half ago. That was something that we were definitely aware of, during my time at the NFT marketplace. And I think I actually, I had tracked down a little bit of DD myself, just for my own personal knowledge on like what may or may not be possible. And I think that if someone or a company were to issue an NFT dividend, they would have to prove that the NFT is already some part of like operating part of the company. So like, you know, for example, you know, if GameStop were to issue an NFT dividend, they would have to have, you know, the GameStop NFT marketplace to say like, okay, it's like, you know, part of the company, like we're issuing something that has something to do with the company that we do, as opposed to just like issuing like a random like object in the world, like, you know, that they don't have any relation to, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, I feel like that was one of the things that I had tracked down was like, you know, if they are going to go that route, you know, maybe that's why the NFT marketplace like was made. Like maybe it was made to give like a business reason to give an NFT dividend in the future, like possibly, I don't know. Like who's to say, like at this point, like it's in the, yeah, it's down to Ryan Cohen.
So the one thing that confuses me about that, I guess, is then like they put a pause on that, right? From what I understand. So then would that not allow him to do that for business reasons because they no longer have that, or because they dabbled in it before? Is that fair game?
Now that's something that like if you were to ask me like a direct question, I'd have to say like, you know, I'm not like a a crypto lawyer, so I don't really have an answer.
Yeah.
But like if you're to, you know, if we're just shooting the shit, I would say like, you know, I would say if you've already dabbled in it in the past, like, you know, the nature of blockchain is decentralized, so why not? Like I don't see a reason why not. Like if you're asking me personally, I think that should be possible.
Also, if they had made a partnership, right? So that's the one thing that is kind of is how do they bridge a share to a token, and it just makes sense that T0 would be that bridge. And so for me, that the fact that X and GameStop got rid of their NFTs at the same time, their NFT marketplaces at the same time, it just makes sense that if both of them had a partnership with T0, then suddenly it would be relevant to their business, and it would be a perfect way to then issue the dividend.
Yeah, I think that logic tracks for me too.
Yeah.
Sweet. So then the question is, what would it take then for GameStop to be able to be tokenized, their shares, right? Because like Citizen was suggesting that, you know, GameStop would have to go bankrupt so that they could actually go onto the blockchain or something like that. And
why would they have to go bankrupt? What was the logic behind that?
Just that it'd have to, I mean, like a CEO can't even get like a full accounting of their shares. And so just to have it under the jurisdiction of the court, but, you know, like this one page that on the actual Pleaser DAO, where they were saying that the feds came in and did something, they made it legendary. And it's like, well, if, you know, the Department of Justice was there, well, if the Department of Justice then comes in and so there's these administrative law judges that are in-house to the SEC, which means that's why so much, like everything comes out with just a fine, right? Citadel steals billions of dollars from shareholders. And then, they're like, we'll just fine them like $5 million, you know, and we'll give that fine to the government, right? It doesn't make any sense. So they're going to get rid of those in-house judges that the SEC has, and then use the Department of Justice. And that should happen like literally any day now. They'll just announce that they have to figure it out by July. So, but they can announce it literally tomorrow. And if that's the case, well, then you don't need the company to be under the jurisdiction of the court through bankruptcy. You could just have it under the Department of Justice. Like all companies then would be under the Department of Justice.
Well, here's the thing, Michael. We watched in the Bed Bath & Beyond case where the plan administrator wrote a letter to the DTCC and said, we're not going to hold you liable so long as we don't uncover fraud. And RC has that exact same letter from back in 2001 when they did their dividend or something, and they crafted a letter. And so RC has a letter with the DTCC that says, we're not going to hold you accountable, DTCC, unless we uncover fraud. Well, if there is fraud in GameStop, whether it be through naked short selling or anything that they uncover, then in a sense, could they not, like Bed Bath & Beyond, not through the court, but through the Department of Justice, who I believe is actually involved in all of this, literally recall all their shares off the DTC and then go to T0 and go blockchain. And that's really, I think, what the move is, because regardless of what's going on now, whether you're on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, 70 to 90% of it. I mean, Gary Gensler even admitted that 90% of all trades go on the dark pools. There's no transparency whatsoever. There's absolutely none. There's too many loopholes. So what if RC did have that precondition where he can literally tell the DTC, sorry, and get the Department of Justice involved, yank it? Because there's only two ways to go on blockchain through T0, and T0 is the only one that's licensed, is to be private, right? And so you either have to go through bankruptcy in order to delist your shares and become private, and then they can do a DPO through T0, or you got to buy the whole company out. And because of the position of the shorts and everything, anyways, I just find it very, very interesting because, you know, I would love to see GameStop, Bed Bath & Beyond, all these companies literally go onto the blockchain for many reasons, but for pure transparency, because there's unique identifiers. You cannot create synthetics out of them, you know, and if they are, they're very traceable because there's only one, you know, real stock, so to speak.
Now, yeah, you mentioned another method
And
that, you know, this could happen, and that's, you know, the entire company is bought out. Like, what would it take for that? Like, isn't that another avenue? And like, like, how much money would it take to buy out all of GameStop? We talked about that before.
I mean, would it have to be, you know, the outstanding, a purchase of all the outstanding?
Yeah.
So
when they make an offer, it has to be 50% more
like
than
how Elon did Twitter, you know?
Yeah.
It's usually a 50% markup to at least that they have to give above the current share price.
Yeah, well, it's very possible. I mean, it's very possible. You have a Carl or somebody big come along, simply just buy it out to move it on to, you know, the New York Stock Exchange through the ICE and T0. That would be absolutely amazing, because then they can't be fucked with. And in a sense, whoever buys it would also own the QSIP. So the short position would have to follow too, right? And then you move to a more transparent market.
T0 did have, well, one of the high-ups at T0 was a high-up at the New York Stock Exchange. And they also did get a copyright or trademark for basically a technology that will, like, it basically will crawl through all the exchange and tokenize the shares that already exist, like, automatically. So, I mean, you could just pick a company and I'll go through all the shareholders and automatically, like, mint all their, it was like an auto minting technology that they had. So I don't know, they could buy it out, they could auto, like, it could just be that a ton of stocks all at the same time on the New York Stock Exchange just kind of switch over to blockchain. Also, as far as use case, I just remembered they specifically said they're going to play in Tanzania or wherever they were going to play it live. They were going to play it on a PlayStation 1, which is a gaming device. And so if there's like some business connection, it's like, oh, well, we sell them or we loan out PlayStations so that people can play this album. I mean, that technically would be a business connection.
Yeah. I just put a link in chat there. I think Citizen's looking to come on. I hope he gets that link there. And I've got AA Jade in the backstage here. She's got some tinfoil. I don't think she has the link for it. I'll let you guys talk. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm kind of eating as well. She sent me the links for it from my page, but she was explaining that it's from the Teddy books. I can pull it up right now. Give me a second.
Okay. You shopping for shirts, Ping? Oh, geez.
These were the links that she sent. She sent me. She mentioned it was in. Okay, I guess she's coming in.
Yeah.
Hey
Jade.
guys.
Hey, Jade.
Hey,
How are you?
hey, great. Thank you so much for letting me up. I promise you guys are going to enjoy this. So, if you get out your first series of Teddy books, I have a tin theory, okay? And this is just creative thinking, but I think I may have.
Oh no.
Oh, they got her.
Oh, rip.
Uh,
Okay, sorry. Which series of Teddy books? I'll bring him up or bring him down.
I'm just trying to see if I. Oh, is that the real OK Bet there? He says, "Yo, ask Ryan about locates." Ryan, OK Bet's backstage, and he says, "Yo, ask Ryan about locates." So I think he's wanting to hear your theory on how, I imagine OK Bet confirmed, but how an NFT would solidify locates. Well, will the NFTs be used as de facto locates? Is OK Bet's question.
I mean, in a T0 scenario, I don't think the locates are going to be NFT based. I think they're going to be more so like an ERC20 token.
No, I think what he means, so basically, when you borrow a share, the locate, the voting rights come with it. So that's how you know that you've lent your share, is because you don't have voting rights. And so if basically, instead of like having the voting rights transfer, which they can just make that up, they could have like say you lend out your shares, you could lend out your NFT as a way so they know how many shares are borrowed.
And now he's saying, no, not T0. I'm pertaining to the Pleaser DAO stuff.
Okay. I mean, now I really don't know how Pleaser DAO like is going to be connected to like stocks and stuff like that. Like that's going to be an interesting thing for me to learn about as well. I don't know if that's the direction that they're heading with it. I just know that something has been cooked up and in the past was connected to GameStop related to this. It's just that we have to wait and see how much of that comes through in the final product. So in terms of the Pleaser DAO stuff, that's why I was focusing on T0 is more so because I'm trying to kind of think of like who would be a potential blockchain based ledger for stock shares. You know what I mean? For migration from stock exchanges into a blockchain ledger. And so T0 was just my initial thought of the of where my brain went with that. But it could be done by anybody. Anybody could create a product similar to T0. So that's the nature of blockchain, is that anybody can just launch their own contract.
Yeah, I've got Anon and OK Bet asking, can Tycho link with Played?
Yes, I in terms of like on ramping or connecting your checking account in order to buy Ethereum with your business or your personal checking account, and yeah, I think with the other Pleaser connection there is like, I think he's just saying you can use that to purchase an NFT such as the Pleaser album there.
Yeah. But didn't GameStop stop their NFT
What
wallet?
is
What? Was that Mike?
Go
No, I
ahead.
was just wondering. I thought GameStop stopped their NFT wallet.
Yeah, they did. They stopped that. They just continued that.
Yeah. And yet we're seeing this possible combination or speculation. I mean, you just showed us some JavaScript code on Pleaser's website that mentions GameStop, and it said Class A shares. And so now I'm of the proposition that, well, it's obviously not going to be managed by GameStop because they've ended their NFT wallet. And I think they did that to keep an arm's length distance because I believe something's in the horizon for T0. And so that's why I think, in a speculation, that GameStop kind of got out of that game to keep their arm's length distance, no conflict of interest. Yet now we see Pleaser and GameStop, possibly some correlation to this. So some third party is going to have to manage that, obviously. And you've got Slade, you've got Tycho, and Pleaser. And so I think, somehow all three are going to manage the aspects of it, but it will be tied to GameStop. And I'm just wondering if it has to do with like somebody found. And again, I don't know if that's verifiable, whether that JavaScript that you show, Mike, is the real McCoy or not. But it looks like some of GameStop shares, Class A shares, might be tied to this in some capacity.
Where can you show this JavaScript again? I missed that.
Yeah. Mike, can you pull that?
I could also bring that up too. I was able to find it before. So let me see if I can.
Anybody got it yet?
Yeah, my internet's tripping out really hard.
You got it. You got it, Peng?
Oh, there it is. So Ryan, yeah. Wow, everybody's internet's chugging here.
Peng, I sent you a screenshot from my side with the inspect and a DM. And that way Ryan on X, that way Ryan can see where it was found.
Yeah, I got it up. If ABC want to approve that.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, I'm not as smooth as PP here, but we'll get through it, man.
Where's the link to the who found this?
I don't know who originally found. I think someone on Superstonk did actually. I could try to find that.
Can you zoom in? It's really hard to.
Oh,
yeah. Sorry, that was like a full screen thing. The code is on the right where it's highlighted. Yeah.
Can you put a link in the private chat?
Let me zoom in, man.
Hey, throw a link into the private chat so that Ryan can take a peek.
Sure. Yeah.
But what it refers to is it's got a hyper tab and it's called Children, and then it literally says GameStop Corporation Class A shares. And again, just seeing that corporate name within obviously their website with the correlation to the Wu-Tang emblem obviously generates a lot of questions. There it is. The link's in the back private chat, Ryan.
It's taking me to messages that doesn't exist. Can you check that link?
Oh,
sorry. I'm typing out the directory where you can find it. But if you go on thealbum.com and do inspect, go to sources, and Peng, maybe if you go to the album, you could actually do this so that way we could show this through the stream.
Wait, sorry.
But yeah, just go to go to thealbum.com and then just do a right click inspect element.
All right.
Or sorry, just inspect. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do program in here. Let's go. Okay, so I want to prove.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so
We're gonna be Hacker Man tonight. All right, right click, inspect.
Page source, I'm guessing, or inspect.
Yeah. So you bring up the console.
Okay.
And then go, if you're in Chrome, it's in the sources tab.
Okay, let me do the good old control find GameStop. Nope.
Because it's in a specific folder on their site. Like I don't know if you were able to get that console window up like I did in the screenshot. But let me just take a screenshot of that so that you could.
Okay. Well, I don't think it's.
Or if you're screen sharing just the window right now, that might be why the console's not showing up. So if you screen your full
Wait. You can
full
just show
screen.
your screen. Just pull it up on
Oh
yours.
yeah,
And
okay.
then,
All right,
yeah,
I wasn't aware if I could. All right, I wasn't aware if I could do that or not. That makes actually a lot easier.
yeah.
All right.
Instead of me trying to do stuff.
Yeah, that's way easier.
Holy shit! Get me off screen here. There we go.
All right. Can you see it? Can you see the dashboard window? Or
Yeah,
no?
I got it, Madison. There we go.
All right, so I'll zoom in.
Don't forget to close your porn tabs.
Yeah, right. Oh, okay. Fuck, it doesn't show. All right, hold on.
Can you open it on your desk, take a screenshot, and just post your screenshot?
No, I'm just gonna share the entire window on my second monitor so that you guys don't see the porn. Do you guys see the window now? Is this working, dude?
Here, let me pull it in.
My second. Yeah, there we go. Jesus, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's good. We see it finally. Yeah.
So yeah, you just search for GameStop or just right there.
And this is on Pleaser's website, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is on thealbum.com. So anyone could verify this. I was also, not believing this was real the first time, this came out. So I had to check myself.
And so you're getting that live off thealbum.com.
Yeah. Just inspecting the code that's already there on the site. And, I don't know much about coding, but, it's just what's loaded in already there for anyone to see.
And so Anon's saying Plate is the authorization for the share. So they're kind of the bookkeeper. They're the holder for thealbum.com. And on this website, it's literally showing GameStop Class A shares.
And
now,
if you search for Plate, you also see the error messages that they have coded out for if it failed to connect with your Plate account or whatever.
Interesting.
And there's actually one thing too that I saw. I don't know where someone posted this. It might have been under my tinfoil post for this, but someone posted that their GameStop wallet or whatever opened up to this to the site or something like that. Was that verified?
I'm
trying to see if I can remember right. Let me see if I could pull it up on one of the posts.
To me, the benefit being is if they tied an NFT like this or the album and they were basically cross-referenced with every share that GameStop has, that in a sense would kind of almost become an identifier of who's got real shares and who doesn't have real shares. It almost create a locate in a sense. And that would be able to kind of almost like the CAT system, where it basically tags every transaction. You're able to identify who sold to what, where each share is being moved. There's an identifier in the new CAT system. Well, this NFT, in a sense, would identify what's real as well as a real GME share and could serve as a genuine locate. So that if anybody says they have a locate, well, if they don't have the NFT attached to it, then it would be considered null and void and not a genuine locate for a transaction. That's what I think is being done here in the background. Again, speculating, but I could see how that could be leveraged with the GME share to show which ones are the real McCoy and which ones are synthetics.
So I thought this would be a little bit tit-jacking, but turns out I have a non in the chat back here saying that any wallet could open up since since Wallet Connect is on. If you had MetaMask as your default, it could pop up too. So I don't know if anyone else could confirm, if this is specific to just being GameStop or whatever. But that's what we have Anon saying in chat. So
Yeah, that would be if you have the GameStop wallet still installed and set as your default wallet. It'll probably pop up if you select MetaMask. That's how it used to be.
got it. Okay.
Hey, quick question for you guys. Wasn't Overstock used to be on T0, or they still are? And how did Patrick Byrne bring it out to T0? I just remember him mentioning something about that, but I don't remember exactly how. Well, I can look into it after.
Yeah, I've heard the same. I heard that it was on blockchain. Splurious was the one that kind of shared with me that it is on blockchain. I don't know how to find that. I've kind of done some digging. I can't seem to find that correlation where it specifically says that Overstock is a specific, digital share, because there's different classification of shares out there. And when we lost our shares in Bed Bath & Beyond, I remember a brokerage for one particular investor, they were informed by their brokerage that their Bed Bath & Beyond shares were taken out for something called reclassification. And so I've always been of the nature that eventually we're going to end up on T0. And the only way to get onto T0 is to reclassify your share as a digital share. And so that's where there's a reclassification that has to happen. And so in this situation with Overstock, I can't tell. I don't know if it's on blockchain or not. I know that, T0 worked with Overstock. They went through a dividend issue. They tried to recall all the shares. It took them 6-7 months. It was a nightmare. I just don't know if Overstock is currently on the blockchain. So I would love to know the answer to that. I know there's quite a few stocks that T0 has under its umbrella, whether it be a whiskey company. There's a couple others that have done an IPO or DPO. Shit, man, I would love to know, because if they're already on T0 trading and you can't even tell the difference through your brokerage, then there shouldn't be a delay of any sort. Really, it's just a matter of companies going private and then listing with the QSIP, and then you're on T0.
So I don't know if this is a good time at all to go into any like tinfoil stuff, because there were a couple things that I wanted to tie into at least today, with someone finding out this whole thing with the GME stuff on the back end of the site. Or if Jade was still trying to go through stuff, more than happy to take a back seat first.
No, let's say you jump into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to grab a drink. I'll be in a couple. So why don't you lead on this and, take the lead on it. Show us what you want. Do you need to bring anything from backstage that I can bring up for you?
No, I'm just going to share my tab here from the PP community post and just go down through the tinfoil rabbit hole I did before.
Okay.
So hope you guys have something fat to smoke, because this might be a little stretch at times, but I was thinking about some tinfoil here, right?
I'll just puff some meth.
Yeah, right. You actually never thought that this would actually happen, right? 3 years ago, where it's just like, yeah, it's possible, but is it really going to happen? You really didn't think that, but there was a lot of weekend hype, right? With 528 today, where there was going to be a merger Monday announcement, on Memorial Day, leading into Tuesday as the floodgates open, and we have everyone rushing to buy today, right? So that obviously didn't happen. I was thinking, oh, what if there's a 7:41 last night or a 7:41 a.m. this morning? But I think what we should be looking for each day is something like along the lines of what happened today with the Pleaser album. This little Easter egg. I think these are the things that may be dropping in lieu of any filing or big announcement. Perhaps like RC is really waiting for like the last second to basically push that big red button. And one of the weird things that I saw related to this, right, the number 6, 666, hell, reckonings are coming. I was thinking of the Tombstone stuff, right? And we have this video where initially, we see it as the hedge funds, taking shots for each other, and you're seeing who's taking the first fall. And then, perhaps like the two cops here could be, you could think of them as like DOJ or something or whatever, or SEC, whatever it may be. But, I was like, oh, there's a total of 6 shots fired in this. I don't think anyone has brought up the number of shots that were actually fired in this, or at least we didn't probably think of it as being a symbol for something, right? So there's 6 more days, basically until, well, originally I thought the earnings were actually 6.5, but that's actually not the case. Someone corrected me and said that earnings are not officially set yet. So, that's not something that's really set in stone. And, I was wondering, could there be something for each other day of this week and leading up to next week where it's just back to back, bombs being dropped, basically, whether it's a little Easter egg like this that plays in a tinfoil, or let's say there's like accompanying, filings from other companies that we should be on the lookout for. I looked into the WAG that one time. That seemed kind of plausible with how it could be an acquisition target. I know other people has looked into Chewy and the other kind of related targets for Ryan Cohen here. And going into this tweet here from Roaring Kitty, right, with the scene from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. And I didn't find it for my post here, but I did see someone point out that this particular clip, this frame here, the beginning shot, was used in like a meme that Roaring Kitty posted, except this was the only clip that was upside down. And, you look back to, oh, look, it's a graveyard, there's tombstones. You think of 5/28/21, where RC originally first tweeted that tombstone. Was it "Rest in Peace, Dumbass" or Ryan Cohen? I forget what it said, but that was also on 5/28. And, that led me to thinking like, hey, this is like the NFT is something that's basically going to be the nail in the coffin, right? There's no way that they're going to be able to fake their way out of paying for it or something like that. Like, they're going to have to pay up, basically. So that's what I kind of saw this as. And then I was also wondering, and this is great that ABC's here, because in this clip, where I'm so bad with movies, so this is really bad for me to go in. But like, just the act of this guy about to chop her head off, and then, oh, just kidding. I thought of this as like, what if HBC, we think is the bad guys, right? From the recent stuff that came out. What if they're actually good? I don't know. I think it could be possible. I don't know if ABC, you could go into more of why you think they are the good guys, but one of the side things that I've pulled up, I don't know if I bookmarked it here to go over, but the going back to this, there's been a lot of articles, right, that I looked into for this one columnist for Bloomberg Opinion, where he pretty much covered from the start of HBC being involved to just recently now writing in like an article about, basically them being implicated in the 16B violation or whatever. And, you guys should also take a look through those articles. And I know it's an opinion piece, but it is just very apparent how biased and how, strongly worded it is to, I think, at least paint HBC as this bad, actor. And now I'm not sure if they are going to be the good guys, but it just, I don't know. Again, it just seems unlikely to me with, again, them managing such a huge portfolio, different wealthy clients and all that. Like, are they really going to ruin their reputation and such for being outed for fraud or whatever? Because, you know, even just looking on their like website and kind of their mission values, it's like they pride themselves on having like a risk management, you know, framework or whatever, and how they don't use leverage much, or they don't use it at all. And they also try not to rely on borrowed loans a lot. So I don't know. Could it be more like smoke and mirrors, more 69D chess from RC, more Art of War shit? I don't know. I think so. Like, I don't know what else that could indicate otherwise at this point. But, you know, I think Paulty had some really good insights into that when I kind of asked about it. So, yeah, I'll leave the floor to you, ABC.
I know, Michael, you've done a lot of digging on HBC, and they certainly have a history. And I think it's, in my opinion, I think it's being leveraged to create this narrative so that, and if I stand correct, a document dropped today saying that HBC must give their reply by June 6th. So this coming June 6th, HBC must disclose their position or their defense to the complaint. And so a lot of shit's coming down on the 6th. And so I view it more as a timing thing where you keep the uncertainty, you paint the picture possibly that they are a nefarious side, but I think that's being done. We know there's fraud. We know that there's being clawbacks being done for some of the claims that were issued and some of the invoices that were paid back up until January. And so I look at it as is, if you are the plan administrator and you're going after recovery, what are you going to do when you've got a situation where you got some nefarious board of directors who have made some improper decisions? You've got naked and synthetic shorts that have been proven to exist through the FTX case. This is a really big affair. And then you've got a party that came in and they are, and again, I haven't gone through the entire redacted filing and there's so much missing. So it's like a 50-50 thing where some people are going, are they good? Are they bad? And to me, if it was a genuine complaint, nothing would be redacted. It would just be a complaint. You did this. This is what you've done. This is a harm you've caused. And this is what we're seeking. But why is it half redacted? Why is there kind of hiding a third party? I believe a third party is being hidden. And the legalese in the HBC agreement said they're acting on behalf of a third party. And so is that redaction to protect the third party? Could be, but why would you need to protect a third party that's being nefarious? You're both guilty or you're both not guilty. And so I find it very strange that they've redacted so much. So I look at it more in the intuition type of thing, just like the reverse split. Way back when they announced reverse split, my immediate intuition is you're a corporate organization running a multi-billion-dollar company, and you can't tell me what date the reverse split's having on. You can't tell me all the logistics, yet you voted on this and you don't have dates. It was so sloppily done that immediately it created alarm bells in my head and said, they're not even having this. This is a ploy. This is a red herring. This is smoke and mirrors. And we eventually saw there was no reverse split. I kind of look at the HBC thing here in the same regard. And I asked two questions. This company was struggling. It wasn't receiving all the shipments. It was being seller boxed into the ground. Sales were declining because they still hadn't gotten rid of all the stores. They're not in bankruptcy yet they were able to come up with both the revenue to pay down JPM and make it all the way to bankruptcy with all their debt notes and everything, with a bank on their ass trying to shut them down and force them. And so where did all that money come from? So I look at the HBC deal as them acting on behalf of a third party whose intention was, I got to get this ABL paid down so that when we hit bankruptcy, all the liens are free and clear so I can do and execute what I want to get done. And so that's how I view HBC. Was they were hired for a reason, leveraged because of some of the affiliations and history that they have. But in my mind, they're good guys. And we'll find out on the 6th, apparently. So I don't know how to answer it, my man. But I will tell you, I find it strange that Carl Icahn leases an office to them. I find it strange that HBC is also in the bid for what is it, Macy's? I think they were. I believe they're also in the DWAC proposition, or the Digital World Acquisition Company. They work very closely with Jeffries. Wherever you see HBC, you see Jeffries. And the funny thing is, wherever you see Jeffries, you see Carl Icahn. And so I kind of do those correlations, and I have enough evidence to say that there's a very good chance that HBC is actually a good friend to this play. However, the narrative is being leveraged to keep the shorts trapped inside, thinking that, oh shit, there's a 16B, we got them, you know. I also think that a lot of people did not think that fraud would be discovered. And I actually think that's the actual intent of this play. I will certainly acquire a crown jewel, but I also believe that there's a bigger play at hand. And that's why I believe HBC was specifically chosen, because they literally showed up within 2 days after, I forget who it was, that had the conversation with JPM, who threatened to close them, and Jake had brought it to my attention. Who knows? We're going to find out a lot more about HBC, but there are a lot of ties. HBC is also in that bank, the Franklin Roosevelt Bank in New York, that's being acquired. They're also in that deal too. And so I see too many patterns of correlation with all the companies that we suspect might be involved in this. And I don't see enough naysay. And because it's redacted, who the fuck knows?
Yeah. And also with the 6/6 date that you mentioned, is that a requirement to have, like, they could just drop it before then, right? Like they could file their thing or a response or whatever before that. It doesn't necessarily have to be 6/6. Am I understanding that correctly?
I believe so. Michael, maybe you know on that.
A lot of people, it seems to be the tactic that you don't want to file anything until you absolutely have to, because it gets your opposition off guard. They don't have time to do all their due diligence, and because like the law is pretty complicated. They still have, like, all the lawyers have to study, especially there's a lot of novel theory going on here. So I don't know. It depends whether they're good. If they're good, and they have nothing to hide, then sure, they could just do it early. But one thing that kind of stands out to me is the fact that they said the reason they didn't disclose their position was because shareholders were mad at Ken Griffin before, and they didn't want us to be mad at them now. And it's like, well, why would we be mad if you're trying to save the company? We wouldn't. So I don't know, but yeah. What's up, Ping?
Here's a little tinfoil from the crowd there. They were saying 6/6 and then 2 + 4 is 6, so 666. Just a little tinfoil for your spiciness.
And also too, we have 6 shots fired in that scene, right? We have RC being on that cover of Red Dead Redemption Cowboys. What did they shoot? Revolvers. How many shots they had? 6. Like, it just seems like there's something there.
Yeah, the numbers are kind of repeating with
and if I could, go ahead.
I was going to say, even when Polity pulled up today, he was like, yeah, this is my third 69th like from Brian Cohen.
Also 8:19 p.m. Like, that's very specific. Did you see his tweet that he's going to be live on the PP show at 8:19?
8:19?
Yeah, like 8:19 p.m. He just specifically mentioned 8:19. I don't know. It's just a weird time. And I know that he's also given away like $4,550, and that was also like a cue to some code or something, right? So
he also said he wasn't going to donate money, and then did 1725 or something.
Okay. Jesus, that took a while. So I finally got to the part, in the timeline, right? So if we're watching this backwards, and if we assume that this clip here is, or if this is where we're at now with the standoff, right? We don't know what's going to happen. And, it could also even be this, like 528 could be here at the start of this Avengers video. And one of the things that also too, I don't think anyone brought up, and I just kind of realized as I was watching this again, but this first part here where Nick Fury is talking to Tony Stark, like I think that was at the end of the first movie, right? And then it jumps to Endgame, basically the last movie, and we have everyone ready at the battlefield to fight against the Hedgies or whatever the hell it is. But I think that starting from here, it's like a timeline of events of what we could expect with from the start from today, 528, on to, let's say, I think June 4th. Because originally I thought that the Ryan Cohen buys all the stonks on Monday, that thing, I thought that was related to Memorial Day, and that the MOAS was actually this today, it would start today. But I'm thinking, if there's no real requirement for RC to just make an announcement, right? Because if he wanted to, he could make an announcement like tonight if he wanted to. But I think I think because the GME earnings weren't confirmed yet, everyone's expecting it to be on 6/5. What if he just did GME does an early call or whatever on 6/4 to announce something? Like, couldn't that still be a possibility with leading into him buying everything on Monday or whatever it seems, and I'll just let Peng jump in here.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to go back to when Pulte mentioned his third leg from Ryan Cohen being the third 69th leg. There's something, this is fucking highly tinfoil-ish, but there's something called the JMM cycle, which is January, March, May. So in the JMM cycle, there's something called the triple witching, which is every third Friday of March, June, September, December, 3, 6, 9, 12. The stock options, index future options all expire simultaneously. So this is like the OPEC's tailwind and stuff that it's possible that they might be talking about.
Nice.
Highly tinfoily.
Isn't the third witching having to do with what is it that's due?
So stock options, index options, index futures, they all expire simultaneously on those 3 months of the third Friday.
And is that coming up?
Sorry, let me just count some numbers here. So it'd be the third Friday of June. Oh shit, that's the 21st, isn't it? Wait, January, February, May, June, yeah. That is the 21st. Okay, now I see how everything's starting to make sense. And also, the 87 billion swap cycle is over, but that's over at the end of this month. So I don't know if they're going to have brand new bullet swaps after that, but that should be interesting too.
Well, I think a lot starts tomorrow, right? Because the T+1, I think, what is it? How much is due tomorrow alone? I forget the number. What was it? 8 million, 40 million, something's due tomorrow. And I'm expecting the stock to possibly raise. Again, not financial advice, but I do believe we're going to see a bunch of volume tomorrow. And then to find out that obviously they shorted the stock by 25 million shares, and that's self-reported. So it's probably a lot more than that. And officially CAT is now official, right? Like today it's official, and it kind of activates at the end of the month, Michael?
Yeah. Like the phase 1 was on Friday, and then the next phase I think is like the 29th.
Did they push for some sort of exemption? I remember some hedge funds actually have exemptions of it. I don't remember if it's 100%, but
no, that was more for invitations to bid or requests for quotes. So it's more of an extension that's being given for the RFQ side of things. It doesn't really affect what's going on right now. It more has to do with the bids and the invitations to bid. More of an accounting perspective that the extension's been granted to. It doesn't really apply to the mainstream tenor of what CAD is doing.
And sorry, just one quick thing. What's an RFQ? Just give me like a
request for quote. So, I don't know, Michael, can you give an example? I'm trying to think of an example for you. Somebody calls in and wants to get a quote on a certain stock and how many units. I think the quoting aspect of the CAT system is separated, and that's where they're giving the extension to that division, that department. It really doesn't have to do with what the CAT system. The CAT system is really a kind of a tracking system to see where transactions are going, to who and where and what and how much. It's really kind of an identifying system for the trading of all the stocks out there. Does it show where the naked shorts are? No, it actually opposite shows what the true ones are and where they're going and what's traded between which parties. So it kind of identifies how many inconsistencies are being reported. And that will give you enough insight to show kind of what's true and what's not. I got somebody backstage here, Kings 3X. You should have a
Kinky sex.
What's that?
Is that kinky sex in the back? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just finish up real quick because I just have this one last thing. So I cannot for the life of me find who originally pointed this out to me, so I apologize if I'm not properly crediting you right now. But one of the things that is tomorrow is this movie called 55 Days at Peking. And it released on May 29th, 1963. And that would be tomorrow, May 29th. And one of the most interesting things here that we see is, where is it? That one thing. What's that quote from RC Sleep? Legacy. 55 Days at Peking contains the first known occurrence of the phrase, let China sleep, for when she wakes, the world will tremble. So, wondering now if there is something related to Icon that we might see tomorrow as like another bomb dropping that just kind of adds on to more of basically the dominoes falling for those, short hedge funds.
Wow. Yeah, I've got the 8K up. I haven't put it up screen yet, but we could certainly go through it. The thing about the 8K that you dropped is just really kind of a new bond indenture that is a new offering. The funny thing is that I saw a post where somebody was making note that there's a certain timeline. I think June 14th is the date. And so in a sense, he had about 739 million in bond debt, and then this new bond indenture, which is being extended in time, is worth 750 million, but a much farther date and a higher interest rate. And so I'm wondering if, in a sense, it's providing more liquidity for ICANN enterprises, which would enable, obviously, with that type of cash flow, being new bonds, new date, and so on, the ability to have some cash on hand to do something. Who friggin' knows, man? I mean, we could certainly pull that up. Kinky sex is gone. You know what, Michael? Let's bring up the Forum 8K and possibly go through it. Let me see if I can share that.
Yeah,
actually, what I'll do. What's that?
Yeah, we can read the 8K, and plus, I think there was a new docket as well.
Yeah, I'm going to drop it in the chat here. Peng, can you pull that up, brother?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got it.
Awesome.
Is that zoomed in for you guys? Okay.
Yeah, that's nice there. Are you at the top?
Yep, I'm at the very top. You guys want me to narrate 131 pages?
No. No. Let's just see if there's kind of a scroll down a bit, and maybe there's kind of a quick summary.
Okay. Should generally be senior notes offer. I think this would be
Yeah.
it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll give
So
it.
there's also
I'll give it
dates
my.
in here.
I'll give it my college try in reading skills.
Okay, go for it, brother.
This is my best PP impression, I guess. Item 1.01 entry into a material definitive agreement. Senior notes offering. On May 28th, 2024, Icon Enterprises LP, also known as Icon Enterprises, and Icon Enterprises Finance Corp., Icon Enterprises Finance, and together with Icon Enterprises, the issuers, closed their previously announced sale of $750 million of aggregate principal amount of new 9% senior notes due in 2030, the notes. Pursuant to the agreement, to the purchase agreement dated May 13th, 2024, the purchase agreement, and by and among issuers, Icon Enterprises holding LP as guarantor, the guarantor, Jeffries LLC as initial purchaser. The notes were priced at 100% of their face amount, or of their face amount. The net proceeds from the sale of the notes were approximately $748 million after deducting the initial purchases discount and commissions and estimated fees and expenses related to the offering, and will be used to redeem the issuer's existing 6.375% senior unsecured notes due in 2025, the 2025 notes, in full on June 13th, 2024. Interest on the notes will be payable on June 15th and December 15th of each year, commencing on December 15th, 2024. The purchase agreement contains customary representations, warranties, and covenants of the parties, and indemnification and contribution provisions where the issuers and the guarantors on the one hand and the initial purchaser on the other have agreed to indemnify each other against certain liabilities. The issuers issued the notes under the indenture dated May 28th, 2024. The indenture. Among the issuers, the guarantors and the guarantor as a guarantor, and Wilmington Trust National Association as trustee, the trustee. The indenture contains customary events, default, and covenants relating to, among other things, the incurrence of debt, affiliate transactions, liens, restricted payments on and or after December 15th, 2029, 6 months prior to the maturity date of the notes. The issuers may redeem all or part of the notes at redemption price equal to 100% of the principal amount thereof, plus accrued and unpaid interest, but excluding the date of redemption. Prior to December 15th, 2029, 6 months prior to the maturity date of the notes, the issuers may redeem all or part of the notes by paying a make-whole premium. If the issuers experience a change of control, the issuers for cash all or any part of each holder's notes at purchase price equal to 101% of the principal amount of the notes plus how do you pronounce that word? Accrued?
Yeah, you're right. Accrued.
Sweet. Plus accrued unpaid interest, but excluding the purchase or the date of purchase. So this is the 9% coupon that you guys were talking about at 750 mil.
Yeah, so it just looks like he's basically had some bonds that were due, he reoffered new ones for a much farther date out, so all the way up to 2030. And he's raised the interest rate, but he's almost spread out the term so that he has longer to pay and doesn't have to obviously complete the original indenture. And so, and he closed this 750 million literally in 2 weeks, probably because of the 9.0% senior notes. That's a great interest rate compared to his prior rate of 6.375. So it looks like he's kind of refinanced the debt through the bond offering, extended the deadline. And that to me is very, very bullish because he's now sitting on 748 million after commission and really only has to make his bi-yearly payments on June 15th and December 15th of every year, starting in December. So his first payment on this new bond indenture doesn't start till December, and then the next one will be in June of the following year, and then December again, all the way up to 2030. So he's got $748 more million in his pocket, and in a sense has financed it to a later date, which I consider very, very bullish. The new date is 2030. So that's 6 years from now.
9% is sorry. So is that 9% per year? Like I'm not too sure how coupon payments are actually made. So
yeah, so a bond has the proprietary amount, and then what they do is they make interest payments. In this case, there's 2 payments per year. Sometimes it's every 3 months, sometimes it's monthly. It really depends on the indenture that's offered. In this case, it looks like there's 2 payments, and basically he's going to be paying out 9%. Now the wow. difference on this one is that it's a 6-year term. So in a sense, whoever buys these bonds is agreeing that they won't be made whole for another 6 years.
But 9% interest is that's pretty high for indentures, no? Or for bond payments, no? Or sorry, senior notes.
His old one was 6.3, right? So
yeah.
That's almost a 2.6% increase, which is quite large. But it kind of matches the marketplace, because of interest rates and everything. So what I consider bullish, though, is that literally within 2 weeks, he refinanced the entire bond offering and extended the date by 6 years. So he's got a lot more money in his pocket right now.
So quick question. From what I remember, during when Heidenberg wrote the article and dropped his stock by like 60%, I remember him didn't he do something special where his money he's borrowed is no longer linked to the stock price or something? Like his stock price wasn't collateralized or something like that? This was like months back, but I don't remember what he did.
He refinanced, his entire portfolio and his personal finances. And so what he did was he literally went to, I think it was a total of 5 banks and leveraged all his holdings and borrowed money against it. And I forget what the ratio was, but it was even if his stock was to drop considerably, he wouldn't be margin called. And I think the reason he did that was to lessen the ability for them to margin call him at any point in time. And so I forget the total value, whether it be 11 or 12 billion, but I think there was a 3 billion loan offering based on the leverage of his holdings and his assets. But it was almost like 20% or 30% of all his holdings was lent out as a loan. And obviously, the market would have to absolutely bomb for them to do any margin calls. So he just refinanced in a way that avoids any serious margin call on him.
So did he ever do anything with that cash, or he still has a standby? I remember him getting into a few other deals too.
Yeah, I forget when he got into JetBlue.
Yeah,
he made an investment in that. I think, there's more to it than that. The way I'm looking at both, what he did in May of last year when he was attacked by Hindenburg, he refinanced himself, took away the margin risk. He's redone his bonds here for a much farther date away. It looks like he's positioning himself to make a move in some capacity, and certainly now has the ability in terms of cash on hand to do so without the risk of being margin called. And so I'm suspecting through speculative, ideas that something's about to happen with Carl. And, I'll be speculative as heck and say that I believe that he's involved in the Bed Bath & Beyond play. To what extent? Whether he acquires Beyond, whether Newell's involved in some capacity, I believe. But I believe there's something much, much bigger in the background. And I see a refinancing going on here. But obviously I can't tie the two together at this point in time. But I think something's coming very, very soon. And the funny thing is that he's going to make the interest on the notes will be payable on June 15th. Whereas the old notes, the estimated fees, expenses related to the offering, and will be used to redeem the issuer's existing 6.375 senior notes on June 13th. So basically, he's closing up the old financing and establishing brand new financing, which won't terminate till 2030. So to me, it's very bullish. He's sitting on a shitload of money, is in a position to possibly do something. And the question is what?
Yeah. So is GameStop holding in like $2 billion. Holy fuck. Who else is sitting on cash? Is Dragonfly? I haven't been keeping track of all the people that's holding cash, like all the big friendlies in the circle.
Well, Dragonfly, I think through Volition, they had 675 million. Through Catterton, another 500 million. We've correlated that to this play in some capacity as well with both Dragonfly. That Ryan Cohen is sitting on $2 billion now. I look at the credit bid of 11.8 billion. And when I do my research, I kind of correlate it back to Carl Icahn in some capacity just through Jeffries and John Taylor and Addison Holdings. But again, it's all speculation, guys. These guys are genius at what they do. They're great at hiding their motives and what their next move is. But I see a lot of money is on the table to make a move in some capacity, whether it be through Ryan, whether it be through Carl and Icahn or IEP. The Dragonfly has got a boatload of money for acquisitions. All the parties that we suspect to be in this have kind of readied their bank account, so to speak. And then look at 6th Street. I cannot shake this 6th Street one where 6th Street Specialty Lending, on behalf of a third party, did a $12 billion raise through 4 rounds in selling private equity, private shares in a company, and through the 4 rounds they raised up to almost $12 billion. What's that money for? Who's the private company? And so you see a credit bid, a claim on the Bed Bath & Beyond estate for $11.8 billion. If you go through the claims and you take away 2 of the claims, which are for $425 million each, and they're actually under a code called 586, I think, or 568. And that code specifies you can only make those claims if money was lent for goods, product, or service. And so to see 2 claims of $425 million and then question, we know that Bye Bye Baby went private, but they also launched 11 stores. How would they fund that? How are they going to launch 11 stores, stock the shelves, hire the employees, do the branding, the marketing with no cash? Because when you're in bankruptcy, there's usually something called exit financing. Yet we saw no evidence of exit financing, and yet they were able to open up these 11 stores. So I look at these 2 claims and go, well, somebody's claiming inventory and goods, and they've lent $850 million, 11 stores, $850 million. That's almost, 90 million a store. That sounds reasonable in terms of a retail setting up shop and so on. So to me, I look at those 2 claims and say, okay, those are for goods and inventory. What's the balance for? and it ends up being 10 billion and 5 million as a claim. And yet there's no evidence. The funny thing is, every claim that goes into a state of bankruptcy, you have to kind of provide evidence. What's the claim for? What's it? How much is it for? And why? Even the bonds, BNY Mellon had to literally serve the claim evidence as to why they're claiming in the estate for so much money. But the only claim that's not showing any evidence as to why they're claiming 11.8 is Brandon Meadows. Well, the funny thing is, under stalking horse bids, you do not have to provide evidence to such because you've been deemed the stalking horse bid. So what if the stalking horse bid 10 billion, 5 million for the complete estate of everything that wasn't liquidated, and Brandon Meadows comes along and says, well, I haven't received the keys, or I haven't received my new car that I bought, so I'm making it a claim. And so in a sense, I just view that as consummating the transaction. Once the deal's done, it's announced, they hand over the estate to Mr. Meadows, who's probably representing somebody, and the stalking horse bid is fulfilled. That's how I'm viewing it, but it's all speculation. Mike, your thoughts? I'm fucking rambling here.
No, you're good. Sorry, I was a little distracted with something else for that last part.
Got you off guard, eh, bro? Sorry, man, I put the pressure on you. We got Kinky Sex in here.
Yeah. You told me to pull this up, so explain yourself.
Hello?
Hey, brother. I can hear you well.
Okay, good.
Thanks for joining.
No, I'm just trying to reinforce your bull claim here.
On HBC?
Yes.
Oh, man, fire away. I want to hear some bullish stuff on it.
Okay, well, read that first line right there, 278.
278.
Sure, I'll get it. It was not until approximately 1:45 p.m. on February 8th that BBBY issued and delivered a book entry transfer the first share of common stock underlying Hudson Bay defendants' derivative securities.
So the shares that were being issued were delivered in book form, which means they weren't directly shot into the market. They were put in somebody's name.
Wow.
The HBC clawback, they're looking to claw back $310 million for the 16B claim. PP sent me a thing saying Friday night that Carl Icahn sold stock totaling about $320 million. Matches up with the 16B, what they're trying to get back. You have...
Really?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. HBC comes along, makes the deal. I believe, and I've kind of speculated this in prior things, that HBC was being represented for Carl. Carl was behind HBC, and Ryan was behind B. Riley for the shares. And B. Riley, we know, did 2 ATM offerings, one for 300 million and one for $1 billion. And the funny thing is, when they hit bankruptcy, they literally said that those ATM offerings have been closed. But in a later document, they turned around and said, but Your Honor, we actually did a private offering for those ATMs in the background. So at that point in time, if you looked at the volume around that time, you could literally see possibly B. Riley selling into the market for a third party and buying shares for a third party. So I said, okay, Ryan must got all his shares. And HBC, excuse me, I believe was used to pay down the ABL. Because remember, there was a leveraged buyout on January 13th that was attempted. Ryan tweeted February 14th, March 13th, 30 days later, 5 guys resigned from their boards. And some of them resigned from their boards at a loss. Like they literally sold their shares at 50%. Brett sold 50% off on his shares and took a loss. So to me, there's always been this deal for a leveraged buyout, but JPM blocked it because of the liens on the ABL. So then, as they were heading towards bankruptcy, you bring in HBC, you task them, I want you to do this offering. And if you check the third amended credit agreement, there's actually verbiage that says the HBC transaction would almost have to be paid towards JPM because they had their hooks in it. And so what I was thinking was Carl would be behind the HBC offering. because where are they going to get the money to pay down the APL? They were literally closing down stores, liquidating stuff, trying to save their soul, so to speak. And yet they were able to pay up like $500 million off the ABL, or 375 million, or whatever the number was, all during a time when they were starving for cash and they couldn't even pay their employees. Where'd that money came from?
Your whole HBC bull thesis relies on Carl Icahn, because it's not Ryan. Because in the docket it says the defendant's broker is Fidelity, and we know Ryan uses JP Morgan Securities. And also you have Carol Flatten that came in right before this offering for the Chapter 11. The bond exchange was 7 investors, and it was spearheaded, or the recipient was Perella Weinberg, who was also the financial advisor to GameStop before Ryan Cohen showed up. And that money was used to pay the ABL. And think about it, if those 7 guys were behind the HBC stuff, all that dilution could possibly be them divvying up the shares. And if you take all those shares, it adds to about like 12% ownership for each one of those investors in the end. And maybe this is all getting chopped up, and this is going to be just like one giant umbrella company in the end.
Wow. Wow. Because, yeah, I could see that.
And on top of it, HBC has such a bad history. Like, look at BBIG. Like, this is like a perfect trap situation. Like, they brought them in because they knew exactly what the algorithms would do. But if all these shares went to these investors behind the scenes in book entry, they knew that they would oversell the stock. And like, look at how all those failed to deliver just disappeared overnight. Remember Reg Show every night on the PP Show?
Yeah. It will literally ended as soon as
yeah.
HBC showed up, right?
Right after HBC showed up.
Yeah. So do we have the dilution that we think we do? Because if they were book entry and not to the street,
it would still be dilution, but it wouldn't be like all those shares sold to retail shouldn't have been sold to retail. It'd be like whoever is holding it in their name in book entry form. Let's say, this is an example. Let's say it's like Larry Chang and Bill Pulte and all these other guys, right? They would all have 12%. So retail buying all these shares over the float, we're still over the 782.
Oh, easily. I mean, don't forget the buy-sell ratio, literally from February till April, was hovering between 70 to 90% buy compared to 30 to 10% sell. And so this thing was literally oversold, bought, and yet we're supposed to believe that HBC came in and literally diluted retail right down to the ground. But this one line literally shows that it was kind of for a third party. I like your idea about the 7 guys and the 12% ownership each. That's what, 84%?
Yep.
Yeah.
And retail would have 14.86%.
Or 14.7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, if they exercise the derivative, isn't that how they make the money though? Is they would have to actually get the share, because that they would be getting the discount as they exercise it, and then they could sell it for full price. So like, I don't know that them just having it in book like would make the difference.
Well, I don't think that's relevant to the fact that they were trying to trap the market makers for fraudulently selling the stock and finding locates.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that's true. It's just, I don't know. I mean, it still, in my mind, could go either way.
Oh, yeah, I can make a heavy case for bad actor, too.
Yeah. I either way, I think that the fact that fraud was found on the board, the fact that Ryan Cohen's bid just went ignored, I think now that completely opens up the door for him to come in and do what he needs to do if it wasn't already done. So I'm excited.
I really like this. I didn't catch that that one line that you're showing, Kinky Sex. Holy fuck, I hate saying your name out on a stream with fucking 9,200 people watching, but so be it, bro. That's wild, because I've always been of the, and I'm not a skeptic, but I'm not a contrarian. But when you find out that Carl Icahn literally leases the 7th floor to HBC in his building, when you see that HBC is involved in a lot of deals which are kind of in the theory or speculation of a bigger play involved, you know, I won't go any politics here, but when you start looking at Steve Munchkin, he literally produced Lego movies. We start seeing talk about Lego and how they're interacting on social media. There's so much to this that even when Michael Burry tweeted when HBC showed up and they had the reverse split, and then HBC showed up and he said, Death Spiral, you literally saw the narrative in the media talk about dilution left, right, and center. And I almost believe that RC and these activist investors and Carl probably knew that if they had somebody like HBC with a history as they did, that the media would just run with it. And again, that narrative kind of showed that there was possibly potential dilution. But what I think happened was HBC was acting for a third party, a group of investors who were paying down the ABL in the background through these acquired shares, got the ABL paid off, entered into Chapter 11, were able to restructure, and now the final icing on the cake will be to consummate the deal that they originally wanted to do that was originally blocked. Wow, man, I did not read that line before.
Yeah, and then add in what PP said on Friday. Carl sold stock totaling up to $320 million, which is right around the $310 million they're trying to get back for the 16B.
Yeah. So again, this could be smoke and mirrors, and maybe the Plan and Min has to take that unbiased approach where he's got to kind of inquire and file a complaint. He may not even be privy to it. Now there's a date set for June 6th. What if HBC simply arrives in court or prior to the 6th and says, Your Honor, here's who we were representing, and this is where the shares went. They went to pay down the ABL. The judge is going to go, there's no 16B there. Get out of here.
That would be fucking like crazy.
Something they'll never forget.
Yeah.
That's definitely something they'll never forget, man. Holy fuck. Oh, sorry, Kinky Sex. Sorry for jumping in. Do you know what docket that is? I just want to write it down for my notes so that whoever wants to have a look at it.
I posted it. I'll link you in a second.
Okay, perfect.
Wow, nice find, Kinky Sex. It's you know, I know you and I have been kind of tagging each other on Twitter. I've been kind of more, you know, and again, a lot of my intuitive feeling on HBC is more about smoke and mirrors, where if you've been coming back more with kind of hardcore details as why they could be considered nefarious. And I know you and I have been playing back and forth. And then for you to pop on the show tonight and show me that one line, that to me just kind of helps solidify my thesis that these guys are actually a friendly in motion. And it's kind of like the RC pump and dump case. I honestly believe RC is just going to, he's already got documentation. And think about this. RC was allowed to hold up to 19.9% ownership with his standstill agreement. Yet he bought in at 9.8. So we know the HBC deal had a maximum of 9.9, right? What's 9 plus 9? 9.9 plus 9.8 still keeps RC under the standstill agreement of 19.9. Like you know what I mean? Like both, when you add in HBC and Ryan's totals, they come under the threshold of the standstill agreement. So if HBC is acting for a third party, guess what? The HBC 16B is gone, and RC 16B will be gone as well.
Well, you also think that, do you really think that Carl and Ryan would just allow someone like HBC to come in and dilute the whole company to shit when they're trying to take it over? Like they have to be behind it, right?
Well, if he had if he made an offer and then it was like, well, I'll just wait till it comes up that I made an offer. I mean, that is pretty sure, because I mean, one, he knew there was fraud was on the board, right? I think that was what the $10 million lawsuit that the three executives that Ryan Cohen put on the board. I think that's the money that they used for the lawsuit was to expose the fraud. And so he knew the fraud was there. And so it's just a matter of time before it actually came up. I think it just took a lot longer to actually come up than he would have guessed. It was because everyone was just trying to sweep it under the rug.
But
Isn't James Hunter going after Ryan though too?
Well, I mean, he's in the case because he's on the team, but like that gives him access to all that information to keep people honest. I think.
Well, I think that's where the fraud comes about, because think about it. Never mind the share back, because I know the Planet Min talked about share buybacks, which was against fiduciary responsibility. But just the fact that Ryan bought in at 9.8, they accelerated the share buyback program soon as he arrived, forcing his ownership to 11.82%. So that accelerated share buyback, which is in a sense against fiduciary responsibility. You shouldn't be doing a share buyback, and you certainly shouldn't be accelerating it at that point in time. But if you did it fraudulently to force somebody into an insider position, yet Mark Tradon also wrote a letter to Ryan showing that he only owed 9.8. And so in a sense, to me, Ryan has unwavering evidence that he did not pass that threshold, yet he still sold to honor the statutes, and therefore, because of the time frame, he's being charged with this. But again, he wouldn't have been forced in that predicament if they wouldn't have done the accelerated buyback. And so if you can literally prove that, Your Honor, I came in at 9.8, it's because of their fraudulent activity that pushed me over, why would I be punished accordingly? Because I came in. This is what I bought. This is how much I spent. And this is what I owned. It was through their actions that pushed me over the top. And that, to me, is where the fraud is. I don't believe the HBC, to me, I think it's more a smoke and mirrors thing to almost kind of bring the narrative along so that RC and company, when they want to tell the world what's going on, they make their announcement, all the bombs are dropped at once. Oh, guess what? HBC was holding our shares. Oh, guess what? HBC paid down the ABL. Thank you much. And guess what? RC's not guilty. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, we acquired the shell at Bed Bath & Beyond. RC's pump and dump case is gone. Good news. HBC's case is gone. Good news. The acquiring's here. The merger, the acquisition's here. And just good news after good news after good news. And I think that's the smoke and mirrors, because the way I see it is that the greedy have used both synthetic and naked shorts to attack this company into the ground. And how do you bring them along for the ride? You bring a narrative of dilution through a reverse split, through HBC, and through the ATM offerings. And because they're so greedy and because it's so easy to kick the can and they think they got you, they literally just attack it, and attack it. And in doing so, they're attacking it with synthetics because those shares actually never hit the market. And so therefore, there's the fraud, is that you assumed those shares went into the market. But guess what? We have proof they didn't right here. And that, to me, is where the fraud exists. Don't know.
Can you pull up that post right there I sent you? So I've been on a mission to try and prove Ryan's involvement in this stock. And I went back through the cooperation agreement. It's right in the private chat, the last link. Not that. Should be three. Yeah, there you go. So right there in the green, it says RC Ventures agrees during the standstill period to update and advise the company of its beneficial ownership of common stock as of such date as any new director or replacement director ceases to be a director, as promptly as practicable after such date. So he never had to report his position to the company unless a new director or a replacement director had left the company. So after he sold, until somebody left, he could have bought the Jeffrey shares and never had to report it to the company.
Wow. And there's been a lot of speculation, Kinky Sex, that RC never sold his position into the market. There's been speculation that he sold it to a third party. Whether
I got that. I got proof for that too.
And what was it?
I think click the next picture first.
Wow.
So the people that are suing RC right now, the Bertaya or whatever.
Yeah.
They right here, I found in docket 2134 that they specifically asked for RC Ventures and Ryan Cohen to not be released parties under the plan. Right?
Yeah.
And then the next screenshot shows, where they were listed as not being exculpated parties or release parties under the plan. Well, why would that be? Well, if he's a co-debtor, right, and he's liable for debts, they wanted to make sure that he would not be protected like the other directors. So that just shows that he's a part of this company already. That right there. And then I'll send you the other post here that talks about what were we saying? What was the first thing I said?
Selling of the shares?
Oh yeah, the pitch book screenshot. Yeah, that's in that big long post I did. Let me find it.
All right.
Okay, here we go.
You pull that up, Payne?
So just click on the screenshot. The rest of it doesn't matter. So for the longest time, this screenshot was floating around, and it always was about the leverage buyout and stuff. But look right underneath it. What's that say?
Sorry, which part?
Right under the red line, the deal number 9. What's that say?
Am I the only one who's not reading this?
Secondary transaction private?
Yep. Completed August 18th.
Oh.
Started, announced date, August 16th.
Wow.
We missed it the whole time. It was there the whole time.
Wow. So
it's done. Deal's done.
Literally sold in a private transaction his holdings, never really exited because he simply just transferred them through a private transaction.
Or to somebody else.
Yeah.
And the media told us he sold it in the market.
It could have been literally to Jeffries. Hold these on to me. Hold my hot potato for a second.
And if anybody wants to say that that's not reliable, I mean, you're paying $25,000 a year for that information. It better be reliable.
Yeah. And the pitch book I really do rely on a lot, because even if you go to the Bed Bath & Beyond, literally on June 8th, there was 2 transactions for Beyond. Beyond not only acquired the IP for Bed Bath & Beyond, but they actually acquired a lot of the estate too. So Overstock actually had 2 transactions. And that's why I believe that Carl or some activist investors are actually going to acquire Beyond and then reverse merge into the estate of Bed Bath & Beyond, because then you get to hold on to Overstock, which is a great e-commerce retailer. You are going to partner with Newell, which has hundreds of world-class brands. So now you've got the e-commerce infrastructure that Overstock is so well known for. You've got all the world-class brands. You got some distribution and data capabilities. And then what do? You carve out Bye Bye Baby through the original transaction that was tried on January 13th to Ryan Cohen. And then you also have the ability to, one, secure the Knowles and bring the shareholders along for the ride. And guess what? Everybody wins. Wow. So, yeah, there's been so much debate over the year of whether Ryan Cohen sold or not. Well, guess what? He did through a secondary transaction, which was private. And I bet you Jeffries. I bet you either Jeffries or some other party. But I'm going to speculate Jeffries, because Jeffries is Jeffries is running Carl's Bond indentures. Jeffries has been working with GameStop. Jeffries was actually the financial advisor for the Macy's bid takeover. Jeffries is involved in so many things that Carl's involved in. And so to see this here, the same date, good find, brother. Amazing.
Wait, sorry. So quick question here. This happened during the August run up of 22? Like the deal.
Yeah, that's
was
RC's transaction right there. RC Ventures.
So what was the... Okay, so you think that might have been Bye Bye Baby?
No,
these are the shares.
these are the shares he owned when he made the cooperation agreement.
Oh, this is 16B. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
And so if he owned 9.8 and literally sold them in a private transaction to a third party and said, hold these for me, please. I'll come back and get them later. Sells them off in a private transaction. In a sense, he meets the guidelines, or he's going to be accused of a 16B for selling and so on. But really that third party can come around later. And
as beneficial ownership.
That's right. And HBC was allowed to own up to 9.9. RC owned 9.8. And add those together, they don't hit the threshold of the standstill agreement.
That was the 20% of this for the standstill agreement, right?
What's that?
For the standstill agreement, it was
19.9.
Okay.
Wow. So yeah, I think we're going to see HBC deliver some good news on the 6th or before, but I bet you'll wait till the 6th because something's going down on the 6th. It's just too much going on that date. When's GME earnings? The 5th? I don't even
Well,
think
that's speculative.
confirmed.
They haven't announced it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Wow. Nice find, brother.
So you think? I'm guessing
there's a whole
probably
bunch in that post.
Okay, I'll scroll through.
No, not in that one, but I mean just in general. It's like 90 pages long.
And these, the ones on the side are the ones you've linked through, right? Okay, I'm gonna...
Wow.
Just start at the top and go and scroll through it. You'll see stuff.
Yeah, so like this one here.
Oh, yeah, you can go to the TSO. It's a little farther down showing that.
There's Jeffries again.
Sorry, which one is...
And Jeffries was also involved with GameStop, and Ryan Cohen and Rory and Kitty talked about it. And then the bonds with the make whole provision right there. And the Ben Rosenwig, like, look at his, click on his, go up a little bit and click on Ben Rosenwig's profile.
Do you want me to read it?
Just the red underline.
Okay. Prior to joining Privet, Ben served as an investment banking analyst in the corporate finance group Alvarez and Marcel, where he completed multiple distressed mergers and acquisitions, restructuring, capital formation transactions. Give you a like.
Wow.
So you had the 2 Jeffrey offerings, you had the bond exchanges, and you had a $400 million offer by Ryan Cohen, all by December of 2022. And then all of a sudden, Ben leaves. Also, Ben is a creditor in this.
And you know what's even more interesting is that Brandon Meadows, JAT Capital, they did a proxy for Overstock and to carve out T0 and move Marcus Lemonis up to chair of the board. Well, the funny thing is that JAT Capital is run by a gentleman named John Taylor, and John Taylor owns something called Hampton Family Office, and Hampton Family Office partnered with Jeffries many years ago, as Jeffries was deemed now to be something called an activist investor group. So John Taylor partnered with Jeffries in terms of the Overstock deal. And Jeffries, again, has been all over the map in whether it be the Hudson Bay, whether it be the bond offerings for Carl Icahn, whether it be them holding the shares for RC. And the funny thing is, you go look at Carl's history of all his mergers and acquisitions, and you will literally find Jeffries tagged all along the way as well.
Do you guys think that the short hedge fund already knows this information, or are they just learning off the show going feck?
They know they're fucked.
Oh,
They're
okay.
in too deep. It gets to the point where you're just in too deep, so you just continue to kick the can. One more day.
Can you scroll down a little bit to the Carol Flatten?
Of course. This is some very, very deep digging. Holy crap.
It's just a summary of everything we've been through. The one above it, and then the Carol Flatten one.
Is this the right one, or did you say you want the one above it?
The one above it, and then this one. Do the one above it first, though.
The turtleneck one, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, read the post, and then.
Okay, sure.
Or I can do it.
Oh, if you want to read it, go ahead.
So I was saying, basically, if you look at turtlenecks, they cover your whole upper body, right? And this is all tinfoil, but they're for full coverage, right? Like they cover your whole body. And they're trying to take this company, you know, ABC's idea of in a Chapter 11, prepackaged Chapter 11, right? And so I'm saying that Carol Flatten is the turtleneck that RC is hired at $30,000 a month. Like she's the full coverage insurance for their plan is basically what I'm saying. Or Carl Icahn, whoever brought her to the board here.
Yeah.
And then if you go down to the one below it, look at her qualifications and stuff. She worked for Lazard and she worked for Alex Partners.
Wow.
Small world, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm underachieving, man.
No, that's friggin' awesome.
Holy.
Wow.
Restructurings and debt exchanges, 363 sales, acquisitions, refinancing, and capital raises.
Boom. Yeah, I think she was definitely integral in this whole thing. And, you know, you got Lazard, you got Alex Partners, you got Alvarez and Marcel, you got Jeffries. Who else? M3, I think, is more a trust company or an escrow. But, wow. And the funny thing is, go look at all the companies that are in bankruptcy right now that we believe to be part of this new Amazon competitor, and you will see Jeffries, Alexi Partners, possibly Alvarez and Marcel. They're there.
Kirkland and Alice.
What's that?
Kirkland and Alice, Deloitte. Yeah. Joanne was one of them.
And so wouldn't that be ironic if these shorts are literally seller boxing companies into the ground, attacking them, shorting them, using synthetic shares, using false locates, hammering the price down to the point where these companies can't borrow any more money. They're having to let go of employees. They can't order inventory because their share price is being hammered down. And like Holly said, Holly Etlin said way back when, if you want to be successful in Chapter 11, come in well prepared with a plan. And so imagine having this plan, knowing that a company is seller boxing you into the ground. You've got everybody lined up of who's going to do what, how things are going to transact, who's supporting who's going to buy what shares, who's buying all the bonds. And you literally go into the bankruptcy, you come out restructuring. And although these companies were hammered into bankruptcy, it's actually the bankruptcy that allowed them to restructure, come out, and reverse Uno on the shorts. How fitting is that?
Payne, can you scroll down through the comments to? I'll tell you when to stop when I see it. says, wait a second, RC is a co-debtor. It's the first post on May 23rd. Right there. So he's listed as a co-debtor. We know that. He's listed as a creditor and an interested party, right? And then in docket 29, in that green, it says, in each case, free and clear of all liens, claims, interests, and other encumbrances. And that's assets to be auctioned, right? So that's why how we know none of the stuff like baby and all that other stuff wasn't auctioned off, because it all had liens on it. And below, I give you that, pretty colorful tree, like 2 posts down, that shows all the colors and all the liens attached to it.
And here's the funny thing is that under the stalking horse bidder, the stalking horse bidder actually gets to set the parameters for the auctions. They get to set the floor price or the minimum bid. They actually get to define the conditions to the auction in terms of who can qualify, who can't. And a stalking horse bidder, if the auctions are canceled, now we know the IP auctions weren't, but I believe that was the psyop. So I believe that was carve out the IP, give the illustration that all of the things have been liquidated. You hold this IP, you hold this IP. We know that the Dream on Me IP could have been reversed on September 30th, the day after the plan. We also know that the overstock was a shared thing. Anyways, if it is reverse merged and IEP ends up getting beyond an overstock anyways, you'll end up owning the IP again anyways. But the funny thing is that the major auctions were canceled. And in doing so, the legalese says a stalking horse bidder must honor their initial bid. And so therefore, that's why I think we're seeing a claim of 10 billion, 5 million. Because they are free and clear of all liens, and they were auctioned off, and we know that the courts literally said, Your Honor, there was no winners for these auctions.
And now if you scroll down a little farther until you see a picture of a lady, it's going to be Stephanie Sweeney. Now this is going to go towards your theory that Dream on Me was running like a fair bid type trial run. So the post above it real quick.
This one?
With the little screenshot, yeah. It says Stephanie Sweeney's representing on behalf of creditor Dream on Me Industries. I say, now go back to her.
I can read
look
this
what she
if you
does.
want.
The top part, the big bold.
Sure. Ms. Sweeney represents clients across a wide range of industries in bankruptcy and restructuring matters, bankruptcy litigations, financings, and goddamn corporate business transactions. I need more energy
and then
to sound like people.
A little bit. And then it says, before joining the firm, Ms. Sweeney was an associate at the law firm of Kravitz, Swain, and Moore LLP, where she handled large-scale bankruptcy cases and represented secured lenders in complex commercial lending transactions.
Wow.
Well, what is Dream on Me doing, you said you think?
Yeah. One, they were a guarantor to a complex lending transaction. So they were kind of financially guaranteeing the outcome. But if there was something called a transaction service agreement, which the estate asked the judge for, Your Honor, we would like to have a 6-month trial to establish the true value of the entity and to run business. And so the judge granted them 6 months. And what happened? Dream on Me launched on November 17th. They were given 6 months to run a transaction service agreement in order to test the market and find out the value. And guess what? That came to an end on March 17th, apparently, or at least that's what the 6-month window is. So in a sense, it was spun off, or it was allured to that Dream on Me won the auction, went private through these private investors. But to me, it was simply just a transition service agreement, and it's still being held by the entities under the DK Butterfly Texas or TF holding. That's where Bye Bye Baby is sitting right now. And I believe that when Carl takes over the main company, he's going to carve out Baby for Ryan at a later date. Speculation, of course.
I agree with you.
Wow,
Good
brother.
speculation.
Some good digging there, man. I wish I would have seen all this stuff before, man.
There's a whole bunch in there, and icons written all over it. I mean, you have the big tree made of butterflies in front of his building, or DK Butterfly. Like, how more obvious can it get?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a picture of me, or there's a video of me you copy took with a butterfly and then me at the Carl Icon building. It's pretty sick. And anyways, yeah, you guys carry on.
And then April 3rd, 2024, we had that disguise sale motion that happened. And if you look up what a disguise sale motion is, it's a sale between partners. And that had to do with the Oak Insurance and our shares.
Sorry, am I scrolling down or?
It's down there near the bottom. It's like the third to last post. Up to.
I think I'm bottomed out, bro.
No,
At
it's
May
up to
24th.
from that. Go up to. This screenshot right there.
This one?
Down one.
Huh.
The one below it. There you go.
Ah.
That
Okay.
Jake's been going over that a lot about with the Oak Insurance.
Yeah. On
Yeah.
April 2nd, 2024, the plan administrator filed the disguised sale motion and a request for this court to hear the motion on short notice. In his request to hear the disguised sale motion on short notice, the plan administrator, in a conclusory manner, without any evidentiary support, stated that if the transactions contemplated in the disguised sale motion were not approved by April 15th, 2024, then the proposed transaction would have had to be revised based on a draw of the letters of credit.
And that disguised sale motion was, objected by those people like what, an hour before the court started, the case started.
Yes.
And then we found out that they put in the docket that like the example they used was a company selling the shares through an insurance.
Yeah, that they received that 52 minutes before the court hearing, and then the law firms for the lawyers for the estate literally included the objection so that they could get it addressed immediately in order to obviously meet that draw letter of credit. No, because that was after, was it not? April 2nd, the plan filed.
And then I don't remember who you guys said was the Canadian person that had the push out listed on their shares and their broker. But I was looking into a push out, and it's basically issuing two sets of shares of equal value. And basically and essentially what I'm thinking is we could get shares, to go back into the exchange to be traded while the other one's canceled with our names attached to it for any like possible future fraud settlements. So that way they could keep track of us, even though we could sell our stock, in the company later on as it starts trading again.
That makes a lot of sense because they literally took this estate and divided it into two. And so I kind of we see the two final decrees and everything, one for liquidation recovery that Mr. Goldberg is handing. And then the reorganization, I believe, is being done by Hunter or Greenberg. I'm not sure which one, but we literally have almost two plan admins. And there has been reference within the dockets too, that there has been a reorganization plan for every single entity under the parent company. And so if you have two final decrees, that makes sense, Kinky Sex, in the sense that if they canceled our shares, but they are holding them in trust so that they're identified and they keep that on the back burner, then they relaunch with new equity so that we can obviously launch a business, receive equity in a new business that's being reorganized, and they launch. Now we've got our shares. We see the true intrinsic value of whatever our shares are, the short interest because they kept the QSIP. But because, like you said, they're holding our old shares, if there is a fraud settlement, you might be able to get a check later on because they have all that identifier and who owned how many shares and everything. So it's a perfect way to, one, not have to wait years and years for the fraud to be overcome and the discovery and the recovery, and at the same time the ability to launch your business and do what you got to do. Brilliant. And
I just had a random thought. Somebody had messaged me about if I had thought the activists own like 80+% of this. Isn't there like some kind of rule that if you control 80% of the company, you can take it private or something like that? In an acquisition?
There is a 80 rule, and then there's, I think it has to do with the nulls.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just remember reading something like that somewhere.
Yeah, there's definitely an 80 rule, because I remember I thought they set up DK Butterfly in the state of Delaware to overcome the New York laws, because in New York there's a 20% ownership rule. And so when I saw DK Butterfly being set up as a mirror image to the corporation of Bed Bath & Beyond, and yet they were setting it up in Delaware, I said, oh, wow, that's great, because now they can kind of circumvent New York law, because now they're under Delaware, which, one, eliminates the need for voting, and two, bypasses that 80-20 rule that the New York statutes had. But there is something to do with the 80% on the Knowles as well, and I bet you Jake would have a good answer to that.
Well, we don't have Jake here, but we do have ChatGPT. Close enough to Jake.
Well, there you go. So going private, the process: acquire majority control with 80% ownership. The activist investor already has supermajority, giving them significant control over the company's decisions, including the ability to propose taking the company private. Number two, buyout of remaining shares. To take the company private, the investor would generally need to acquire the remaining 20% of shares. This is typically done through a process called a tender offer or a squeeze out. Under a tender offer, the investor offers to purchase the remaining shares from the other shareholders at a premium to the current market price. If the offer is attractive, many shareholders will sell their shares. In a squeeze-out situation, in many jurisdictions, the investor already controls a significant percentage, often around 90% or more, almost like IEP, but this threshold varies by jurisdiction. They can force the minority shareholders to sell their shares at a fair price determined by an independent valuation. And then there's delisting from the public exchange and regulatory approvals. Now, ultimately, I think that eventually you're going to see a lot of these companies go private, and then on to T0 blockchain, which doesn't have the dark pool, which has a unique identifier. It can't be manipulated. It can't be synthetically made. And you're going to see true value. Now, do I suspect GME to go private very soon? No. Do I suspect IEP? I'm not sure, but he's very close. He's definitely at a 94% ownership right now, and his next dividend offering, which is going to be paid out very, very soon, is probably going to put him over 97% ownership.
So I have another thought, and I don't even know if this is even possible, but let's say that in that asset, or in that disguised sale, they sold our shares to somebody, a partner in this, right? And we're going to, let's say we get our equity portion into, let's say, Bye Bye Baby, and let's say Ryan takes us with Bye Bye Baby in the shares, but then the 80%, or that large majority, is for the rest of Bed Bath & Beyond, and then they give us a cash payout for that portion of the company and take it private.
That's exactly where I was. What I think is you're going to see a cash transaction for the shell, and then the carve out for Bye Bye Baby comes after. And in doing so, RC's literally, because he saved the QSIP, or sorry, the estate saved the QSIP, they would sell that QSIP to RC along with Bye Bye Baby. So now Bye Bye Baby can literally relist, whether it be because they're private right now, he can literally go straight to T0 with the QSIP, and then obviously have the short interest carry along. Shorts are fucked, especially if we go to T0. And there you would get equity. So a cash transaction for the shell, and then equity for Bye Bye Baby as it kind of either goes to T0 or relists back on the OTC.
I'm down.
Not financial advice. Obviously, we're all speculating here, but wow. Dude, thank you for joining us tonight. Those three slides that you showed us about HBC, then the RC and how, he sold his shares privately through a secondary transaction. Beautiful, man. I had not seen, I think I saw the pitch book, but I don't think I ever looked deeply enough. But the HBC thing was really interesting because of its book. They never hit the street, man. All this dilution is likely going to be reversed. And so I almost see this dilution as a narrative where the plan administrator, because he's not privy to the deal between the third party and HBC, he's just assuming there was dilution. But if really those shares went to book and paid off a third party, in a sense, there is dilution, but maybe 728 is the latest number that the courts say?
I think it's 782.
782? Wow.
Well, and they're playing on the HBC narrative, and everything we've heard about the bankruptcy from the beginning has been bad news to shareholders.
Yeah.
And in this lawsuit with HBC 16B, I literally posted like 20 things off the docket yesterday, and every one of them was bad except for the book entry thing. Every single one was negative.
Yeah.
And so they're painting a picture of negative on everything that we see. So it's almost like you are right. That's what they're trying to do. And then the rug will get pulled.
And then HBC's innocent, Ryan Cohen's innocent. And then what do? Once those two guys are free and innocent, you announce. And then
we get cash and we fuck.
You get cash, and then you get a carve out of Bye Bye Baby. So additional good news. And then you add in other companies. And what if RC acquires Bye Bye Baby through RC Ventures and Teddy? Now other companies join the Teddy platform, and you're getting units in it too. So now you got units in Bye Bye Baby, possibly units in any other entity that joins the Teddy platform. Now, will you be privileged to have those? No, because you didn't invest in those stock. But maybe you'll be getting direct share in Teddy as a main company, or maybe you'll be getting equity in Bye Bye Baby. I don't know how it's going to work out. But if this is kind of at Berkshire Hathaway, like Bill showed up on his birthday tonight to kind of speculate on, this is a generational wealth play, because the long term of what a guy like Ryan Cohen and Carl guys, I'm telling you, these guys are all about long term. They don't flip stuff for a quick buck. These guys build intrinsic value, and they provide shareholder value. And let me tell you, Berkshire Hathaway started at $17 a share many, many years ago. That share is almost $700,000 each right now. And I think these guys can get to something like that in half the time that Mr. Buffett did it. And to throw out even crazier speculation, while we have over 10,000 people, I believe that Warren Buffett invested into Chubb Insurance, which is a Canadian entity, which ironically has an insurance policy with Bed Bath & Beyond for the safety policy, the Oak Insurance and the safety. And so I find that correlation quite unique as well, for Warren to go in through Chubb. And now we just seen a document with Chubb Insurance, who now was supposed to satisfy this court claim on June 9th, has been advanced too. I think the new date is June 4th, that the Chubb Insurance is going to be resolved as well. So they're actually expediting that claim too. I think this is big. I think there's like some big holding companies involved in this.
Well, I think it's going to take on Amazon. I mean, there's
It has
pretty
to.
much everyone who is not Amazon, everyone who's a brick and mortar that wants to be part of the omni-channel future, and I think it's all going to go through X. I mean, X has shown that they can get all the traffic. They already have it as they're already beating YouTube and Instagram as far as paying out creators and whatnot. I mean, this stage has been set. I think we're ready to go.
And what a better way, Michael, when you can take away all the middlemen in kind of this relational, synergistic, I don't even know what to call it. I don't want to call it Kirisu because Kirisus are illegal in the United States. And so that's why I believe IEP as a master fund is like a holding company in this. Okay. And he's got a lot of companies that he owns and has shares in. And so I believe that IEP is really the infrastructure. And I believe Brett, with his technology knowledge, is going to work on the T0 side in terms of the blockchain. And I believe Carl, with his distribution, his railway, his investment into airplanes, I think that's really where IEP forms kind of the infrastructure and the architecture, the backbone of a retail concept. And then I believe RC, through Teddy Ventures, or Teddy, is going to be kind of the retail holding company where you're going to have, GameStop, Bye Bye Baby, possibly Lego, Atari, who knows, whatever's going to be involved in that. And then I believe that you're going to have a platform holding company, which is going to provide the financial instruments. So whether it be on X, where you can trade and do your banking through Elon, plus you're also going to have a platform that's going to have literally hundreds of millions of users on the platform. And that's why Amazon works so well, because at any given moment on Amazon, there's over 2 million people on that site. And so Twitter, with that type of crowd traffic, would be great for a shopping portal as well. And then in terms of real estate, I possibly see either Eddie Lampert and Mr. Buffett being the insurance aspect, and Mr. Lampert being the retail and real estate aspect, because Sears owns a boatload of real estate. So imagine having all these iconic brands come together, sharing in the expenses, sharing in the distribution. Flexport, Shopify, my God, this could be pretty large, pretty fast, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself.
Well, I'm going to head out. I just want to say one last thing.
And thanks for showing up tonight, my man.
You remember earlier today, Polte was talking about GME, if they had got more cash on hand. I would like to see GameStop, I don't know if it's possible, but if Ryan's listening, I'd like to see GameStop offer shares, like an at the money thing for retail shareholders, maybe through the company, where we could sign up, like in a window period, sign up to buy shares, and the company can deliver it to us through book entry. I think that would be really cool.
I was actually thinking the same thing. Why not do some kind of I don't want to say different kind of share, but different kind of fundraising, like something like you were saying. I mean, I guess funding.
We have a lot of money. We would buy that shit up so quick.
Yeah. No, I mean, it'd just be it would kind of show how much support he has by it's hey, look, here's.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I agree with you.
There should be some way to do even, I don't know, just actually sell an NFT, right? Just have it be separate. I don't know. I mean,
AMC tried that.
Wait, so really? Would Class A warrants do it? The ability to be able to convert and buy specific shares of it?
I don't know. I wanted the ability to have the company issue the shares directly to us through book entry, so it doesn't get through the market makers. It doesn't go through the back end. It goes directly to us in our name, and we purchase it through the company, through their website directly.
Does that for some reason, is that DPO or no? Does DPO still go through the market maker and all that?
I have no idea. I'm not.
What do you mean?
I know nothing about that stuff.
Is it a direct public offering? I actually don't know. I don't know if that's. Yeah, I'm not sure.
What do you mean? For what sense, Payne?
So Kinky Sex was saying that you would want, like, in some way, like, I would think it would be some sort of a warrant to have the ability to, like, they give you the warrant, and you would have the ability to purchase the stock directly from the company rather than buy it from an open market where it goes through shenanigans, like, so that's why I was thinking, like, in a direct public offering, I don't know if you can purchase, like, when you make a purchase, if it's directly to the company.
Yeah, well, there's there's a private public you can do a private offering, which I believe is what Teddy has done. And the reason I believe that Teddy, and again, it's speculation, I have absolutely no proof that Sixth Street Lending was representing Teddy. I just know they were representing a private entity that they raised $12 billion in selling shares. And when I looked at all 4 rounds of private equity sale, the average the average share price was between $25 to $28. And so I looked at the first round. I think there was 4,037 people that spent $27 each and bought equity in this private offering. All 4 rounds came to $12 billion, which is very close to the Brandon Meadows claim. And so to me, that's where I think that in a sense, Teddy was a SPAC, because if you go look at the incorporation date of Teddy Inc., it started almost 2 years ago, well before the Chapter 11, and then Sixth Street did these private offerings. And so in a sense, they lined up this private company with $12 billion of money. And is it Teddy? I don't know. It's all speculation, guys. But in a sense, what a SPAC does is they first sell off a bunch to the individual investors, and then they do a direct public offering before they kind of go. And that's the model of T0 as well. The only way to get on T0 right now is through a DPO or an IPO. And an IPO is a very expensive, time-consuming process. So the best way to do it is through a SPAC or a DPO, where you have a private offering, load up your money, create a blank check company, and this blank check company can go out and buy whatever acquisitions they want. And then just before you launch, you invite retail or people to directly purchase equity in it.
That's exactly what I think they've been setting up. If you take a look at the language that they've been using in the recent earnings reports and different filings, where they've been mentioning the different types of securities and the Class A and the preferred different shares that are going to be made available. There's no saying where they're going to be making these new securities available. I think they're opening the way very much for this exact scenario where they launch their own smart contract on Ethereum. It's done through some provider that they already have a dealings with, or it's just done independently, because it's that's just the nature of blockchain, is that you're just able to do whatever you like. And as a company, if that's what you decide is your security, then so be it.
Yeah, and my hope is that we do go to T0, because with Loopring and Ethereum, T0 also made some acquisitions in terms of Securitize and a couple others out there. So they have the ability to, 1, check the credentials of who owns the share, 1, do the minting of the shares, number 3, basically issue it on exchange, because they're approved by FINRA and by SEC. They're the only one that has the license to do so. And so through this kind of, and the problem with T0 is they haven't had enough scaling. They haven't had enough iconic brands. They've had very small companies that have either done IPOs or DPOs, raising millions of dollars, but they haven't had those big names behind it. And so there's very little volume, very little trading activity on T0 right now. But they have the technology. And we noticed on a show when Loopring, I think it was, came on, they literally said that they're trying to get their transaction up to, what was it, 100,000 transactions a second, which is comparable to Visa and MasterCard. That's how many transactions they can fulfill within a second. And so when I heard that they were getting to that kind of threshold of transactions. Well, why would T0 be planning or working with Loopring to get to that type of threshold in terms of 100,000 transactions a second? That's the size of Visa and MasterCard. Well, that means there's some pretty big brands that might be coming along, going on to that. And how do you kind of scale? Well, what if you do have a Blockbuster suddenly come out of bankruptcy? What if you do have Bye Bye Baby show up? What if you have Overstock? What if you have all these retail giants with millions of loyal customers and they come on? Well, guess what? Now T0 can compete with the New York Stock Exchange, even though it is partly owned by ICE. You now got that momentum and that ability to scale because there's enough retail investors buying and trading. And that's what's really, I think, going to push T0 to the top of it through blockchain. Anyways, I could ramble all night, guys. I want to thank you all for joining me. I think I'm going to close her down. So maybe, Ryan, can I get you some... Oh, Pang, you want to jump in?
Sorry, one quick question from my buddy OK Betts from the crowd. He asked me this question at fucking 9 o'clock. It's like 11. So I'll keep it quick. He asked, hey, Ryan, if the NFT is being used as a de facto locate.
I think we had discussed that earlier, but yeah, I think, in terms of NFTs being used as de facto locates, I think that's definitely possible. I think that it's going to be more of a token instead of an NFT. I think it's going to be a token, but it's honestly just like they're all tokens. Whether it's a non-fungible token or it's a fungible token, shares are fungible. Like let's just say shares are fungible because one share does not equal like a collectible item. You can trade one share for another share, like one share equals another share, just like a penny equals a penny. But like when it comes down to it, NFTs are meant to be more non-fungible as like individual collectible items. So it kind of depends on how they develop it, but I could see it being either way, to be honest. Like I would love to have an NFT represent one individual share that cannot be broken up or fractionalized. That's an interesting way of doing it too.
Wow.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Ryan, any closing thoughts? We're going to close up the show here, man, but I want to give you opportunity to share any words of wisdom with the chat here and all the viewers. We've got 10,809 live viewers right now. Any words you want to part with, brother?
I would say get your tickets to Tasmania.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for dropping by tonight.
Have a good night, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Ryan. Take care, brother.
Have a good night, man.
Pang, brother. What do you got for us? Close it out.
I don't really know. We learned a lot today. Like when Kinky Sex actually brought everything up, it just feels like recently I've went so far into everything that this moment that we bring ourselves back out and see the grand picture of what's going on, and then all the mysteries are starting to like slowly come out. Like when Kinky Sex was mentioning about the book entries with HBC. Fuck, man, that's amazing. Like it just seems like all these little. It's like my favorite part of a mystery. It's like when all these little things are slowly coming back to show you exactly, hey, this is what happened. And for like almost a year that we've been sitting back and just like, oh, what's going on? Fuck, it's redacted. Okay, what's going on here? Fuck, it's redacted.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. Still not over yet. We haven't got our shares back yet, but it's certainly leaning towards that. There's definitely possibly some good news around the corner. I think on the 6th of June, we'll find out what HBC is all about. I'm going to speculate that it was a narrative that was done to create a bear trap. I think it was executed in a way that a lot of us were confused. Kinky Sex was tweeting yesterday, and he was going through the HBC docket, and I kept on replying saying, nah, I still think they're innocent. Nah, I believe in HBC. And I wasn't supporting with any evidence. I was just intuitively saying, no, I think HBC is good here. I think they're good. And he'd come back with a little bit more solid evidence. But for what he showed tonight, very impressive, because it literally proves that they were acting on behalf of a third party. I'm curious to see what the TSO will be. I think that's really key to this. I think it'll have a huge detriment to what a possible cash transaction could represent for equity holders. And I really like his idea that, I've always been that two-plan guy, that there's two outcomes here: liquidation, recovery, discovery for fraud, and then obviously the ability to reorgan and come out of bankruptcy. And so his thesis of possibly the reason that's being done is so that they hold those canceled shares so that they can disperse a fraud settlement at a later date is actually brilliant. Because if that does happen, shareholders might be entitled to something down the road that they may not have expected. And if this is big as it is with the Department of Justice, RICO, I believe Roaring Kitty showed up to do a trial run, almost like a sting operation. This could be a lot bigger than we think it is in terms of fraud and discovery. So who knows what might be coming down the road. But I appreciate you joining me tonight. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see you tomorrow night on the PP Show, bro.
Thank you for having me on. Have a good night,
See you,
Michael, and ABC. Take
Cheers,
care.
brother.
Bye.
Michael.
It's a great time to be alive.
So I'm wheezing and coughing. I'm allergic to pollen. So I got a puffer and stuff, and I'm coughing all night, and I've been rambling like a fucking madman here. So I'll let you come out with some final words, and we'll bring this to a close.
I think everything is coming to a close. And I think Pulte said it the best, right? I trust Ryan Cohen, and I trust Larry Chang, and I trust Pulte too, even if he doesn't trust himself. And, that's enough, right? I don't know about HBC. I don't even really care. I mean, it's fun to speculate, right? I had fun putting together the video I did. Either way, there was a lot of fraud that went on. I don't know exactly who was the one doing it, but it's just good to see that fraud was overcome. I don't know. I mean, we see fraud wasn't really overcome in the stock market until things got really bad. You look at Enron, you look at Lehman Brothers and AIG, right? So I don't know. It's just kind of cool that there's going to be some real change coming, and I think a lot of people long before us have been working a long time for this, and I'm glad to be part of it. So I think this next week, I think Thursday is going to be a good day for GameStop. Just looking at the charts, that's my guess at least. I think it might start taking off there. We might see the dividend announcement on Friday. Either way, I think the next 2 weeks are going to be very, very exciting for GameStop holders and possibly for Bed Bath holders as well.
Yeah, I agree, my man. Listen, I thank you for showing up tonight, saving me here. I'm certainly not PP, and I don't have his mad skills in running the show, but I appreciate you showing up tonight, adding your contribution, and hopefully I see you tomorrow night, brother.
Sounds good. I'll see you then.
Cheers, Mike.
Cheers.
And there you have it, guys, the PP Show. Thanks for joining me tonight. Again, nothing you heard here was financial advice, merely some people getting together, sharing their insight, speculation as to what may be coming of a stock that we love and hold. I look forward to tomorrow night's show when PP's back at the helm. PP is a master at what he does. I certainly don't have the enthusiasm that this guy has, but I want to thank each and every one of you. There's 10,888 of you live viewers right now. I appreciate you joining us on the show tonight. I wish you all good luck in the markets tomorrow. And thanks for joining the PP Show tonight. Cheers, everyone. I'll do the dildo slap, of course. I can't not do that. PP will be upset if I, where the fuck is it? Okay, cheers.